the first year that Hawaii is doing all mail-in voting. So we really hope that everyone can participate in making it a big success. So make sure your voter registration is up to date as soon as possible, especially if you moved recently. Your ballots will be sent out 18 days prior to the election, and you can mail it, or you can visit any voter service center or drop boxes, which you can find at elections.hawaii.gov. And if you need more information on all of this, it's vote411.org is a one-stop shop for election-related information, as well as on candidates. So with that, we have incorporated viewer questions into our selection of questions tonight. For those who signed up for the forum and your question was not asked, we can email you contact information for all the candidates so that you can reach out to them directly as constituents. And by participating tonight, you are the ones providing an opportunity, or for candidates, you're the ones providing an opportunity for the public to learn about you, especially during COVID-19, which has made campaigning nearly impossible. So thank you so much for joining this public forum to share what you're most excited about if you are to represent Hawaii. So just some process info for the mayoral candidates. There will be six rounds of open-ended questions, and the first three of which have been sent to you in advance. You'll each have 2 minutes to respond to your question. When you have 20 seconds left, you'll hear Dyson's voice say 20 seconds, just to give you that warning. And after your time is up, you'll be muted. So we really encourage you to begin closing your statements when you hear that warning to avoid being muted mid-sentence. And you don't have to use up your entire 2 minutes, because if we do have extra time, we'll be able to get into some additional questions. After the 6 open-ended questions, there will be a lightning round of 6 yes or no questions, and you'll have up to 15 seconds to say yes or no to those. And then at the very end, you'll have 1 minute and 30 seconds for your closing statements. And if you speak out of turn at any point, you will be muted. So just be aware of that. So we're really excited today to introduce our candidates in alphabetical order by last name. So we have Keith Amamiya, who served Oahu as a business executive, a nonprofit leader, and lawyer over the last 30 years. He's running for political office for the first time to bring people together to solve the toughest problems facing Oahu today. So thank you so much, Keith, for joining us. We have Ernest Caravalho, raised between Kalihi and Waianae. Ernest has been a part of the Lions Club and the Business Community Association. He is placing his focus on addressing Native Hawaiian rights issues and uplifting the common humanity of the island communities. Thank you, Ernest. We have John Carroll. He served during the Korean War in the US Army and in the Air Force Service as a fighter pilot. He is a contributing author of the Hawaii Uniform Code of Military Justice, and he has a history working at Hawaiian Airlines and in establishing multiple law practices. Colleen Hanabusa is a practicing lawyer originally from Waianae. She has worked in the Hawaii State Legislature and the United States Congress. She's on the board of the Hawaii Gas Company and served the board of the Hawaii Rapid Transit Authority. Thank you, Colleen. And Chun James is a longtime advocate at City Hall to save Oahu farmlands and fiscal accountability for sustainable communities. She's a successful small businesswoman, farmer, free press Olelo producer, grandmother of 12, and does not accept donations from lobbyists and PACs. Thank you, Chun, for being here. And last but definitely not least, Kim Pine is a 2-term city council member who lives in Ewa Beach. She previously served 4 terms as a state representative. She's the granddaughter of immigrants and was born and raised on Oahu and attended the University of California, Berkeley. So those are our candidates. Thank you all so much for being here and being willing to represent our communities. So we will go into our very first question. So the question is, what is your vision for Oahu given the converging realities of COVID-19, the abrupt economic downturn, civil unrest, and the climate crisis? So first we have Kim Pine for 2 minutes.
Thank you for asking that question. I come to you as a mother of a 5-year-old who's very concerned about her future right now. When things are in balance, that's when crisis occurs. That's when violence occurs. And that is where the imbalance occurs. The first thing that I would do should I become mayor is to create a balance in society again. We have failed to listen to the many experts who for many years have said that we have abused our earth, and we have failed to uphold our principles that our native Hawaiian original people of this land have told us to take care of our land. We must put that back into balance. We must learn to have an economy that no longer depends on the outside world to feed ourselves. We must have an economy where we create our own industries to pay our own bills. That is where the crisis really is right now. We have been too dependent on tourism to get that quick buck instead of asking ourselves, is this good for my daughter's generation? In this transition, we have a great opportunity to come together as a person who's half brown and half white, who understands the many race issues that we see today. I have great hope that we can all come together to change Hawaii and truly transition Hawaii to sustainable, economically viable and affordable, safe and clean city.
Thank you so much. That was Kim Pine. So next we have Chun James to respond to this question. Oh, Chun, please unmute yourself.
Okay, got it?
Good.
Got it? Aloha, thanks for putting this on. My vision for Oahu remains the same. For decades, I've been fighting alongside with you guys for all these principles that we're now beginning to talk about. We live in paradise with the most wonderful people on earth, and COVID has disrupted us big time. I have been a small business owner for over 30 years, involved at City Hall for decades. And we have been through good times and we've been through tough times. And in times like this, I know that when we work together and live aloha, we can overcome. Whether we're rich or poor, young or old, Democrat or Republican, all aloha aina, unionized or not, military or civilian, we can all work together. We live in a very teeny island. We have the same dreams for our children. We can come together and find solutions that benefit all of us. Let's work together and put forth the best in each of us and help each other out of this rut. And my job as a mayor is to promote your happiness, your safety, your prosperity in a sustainable manner for now and for the future. And we've got lots to do. And in 3 years' time, let's look back and feel proud that each one of us have contributed to the greater good of our island home by rising above our political and personal ambitions. And let's live aloha. We can do it. We can do it, and we will do it.
Thank you so much, Chun James. Next, we have Colleen Hanabusa.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. I know one thing, and that is no matter what our visions may be, our visions will not be successful or in any way accepted unless people buy into them. People like yourselves, like an organization such as this, unless you share in this vision and decide that this is the way you want to go, especially after what we've gone through with COVID. To me, there is absolutely no way we will succeed. When I was president of the Senate, one of the first initiatives we did was something called Sustainability 2050. This was in 2007. Sustainability was not the household word that it is now. Matter of fact, many of us were wondering, what does sustainability mean? I will tell you what drives me. we had 12 high school seniors participating with us. We asked one question. How many of you feel that after going away to college, and they're all going away, you will come back to Hawaii? Not one hand went up. And we asked why. They said, because Hawaii doesn't have a place for us. That is something that I carry with me all the time. That image of the future not feeling that they have a place. Let's be real. Every politician will tell you, we're planning for the future, we're planning for the next generation. How many have actually spoken to them and asked them, how do you want to live? Do you
20
really
seconds.
want? Do you really want to live in the way that we all think you do? That's not the case. So what we need to do in this vision to get us to what I consider to be the better normal is we need input. I need people at a table to help shape it. I know what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a sustainable community in all aspects of that word. But the only way we're going to succeed is if everyone agrees.
Thank you, Colleen Hanabusa. So next we have John Carroll. John, please unmute yourself before you begin.
I missed the question.
The question is, what is your vision for Oahu given the converging realities
I'm
of...
sorry.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. I wanted to thank you very much for inviting me and for putting on this forum. And it's really tremendous that you have asked this pertinent question. Right now, Hawaii is 35% higher cost of living than New York or California, the two highest in the United States. We have no real economy here. We're facing bankruptcy. My vision as lawyer, and the reason that I'm doing it at this age, is because I do not see the leadership that we should have had to have gotten rid of the Jones Act, which has basically put our entire economy, including agriculture, into the toilet. And it's got to come out. The first thing that I intend to do as as mayor, is to eliminate the Jones Act, either by way of a either an executive order of the president or by a class action lawsuit on behalf of each of the members of this Honolulu community. If we can get rid of the Jones Act and have worldwide shipping come in, we can then have basically a worldwide sustainable and affordable place to live, and that's what I'm shooting for. The real problem that we have here is that all of our property, all of the things that we're using have to come in, go to California before they come here. The Constitution has a provision.
20 seconds.
Okay, there's strictly constitutional violations that have to be set aside. We will get that done.
Thank you so much, John Carroll. Next, we have Ernest Caravalho.
Mahalo for having me here today and for having all of us here today. I really do appreciate it, and everyone that is here participating. So my vision for Hawaii coming out of COVID is food sustainability. Food sustainability is very important to us, as we've seen here in Hawaii, what it has done as our prices continue to rise. Also, I also want to make sure that instead of trading across the road, we should be trading with each other. We can help our brothers and sisters on the island of Hawaii by buying food from Hawaii, from the island of Hawaii, bringing it here. We are their biggest market. So we should be reaching out to all of them. We need to bring our people back together. We've separated. We've lost aloha. So we need to bind everybody together, make a bridge, and bringing our people back together, remembering that we do live in Hawaii, one of the most beautiful places on earth. And aloha is what makes us more beautiful than anything else. Aloha is the key. We've lost our way somehow. And we need to build new economies, new greener economies based on health, education, and agriculture. And these are things that I see to bring in as we lessen the amount of tourists coming in, because we have seen that tourists cannot sustain our people. I have many friends that have lost a lot of jobs, and many people and businesses will not be able to recoup from this. And we have to be able to help them. In Hawaii, we have shown our courage and our love for each other. We are loving and helping
20
people.
seconds.
We need to go back to the way we used to be, by giving to each other, by being there for each other, and by showing aloha. By living aloha, we will move forward through this pandemic. Mahalo.
Thank you, Ernest Carvalho. Next, we have Keith Amamiya.
All right. Mahalo Dore for the opportunity, and aloha everyone. My name is Keith Amemiya, candidate for mayor of the city and county of Honolulu. I'm running for mayor because we need change. We need new leadership, we need a fresh perspective, and we need to restore trust in government. I'm running for mayor because I care about our communities and I want to create a better future for all of us, including our younger generations. I've been on the campaign trail for over 9 months now, and I visited every community on this island. And two things that have stuck out with me when talking to people, especially working class families, is number one, they want change. They're tired of the status quo and the same old, same old. Number two, they're concerned about their deteriorating quality of life, especially the increasing high cost of living that all of us are facing here on Oahu and the rest of the state. When I started working at the Hawaii High School Athletic Association over 20 years ago and was charged with running high school sports across the state, I had a similar opportunity to visit every community in the state and got to meet many people of the working class variety and beyond. And even then, they were concerned about their quality of life and the increased cost of living and just the difficulty to make ends meet. Fast forward 20 plus years later, COVID-19 has made that even worse. My entire career has been based upon public service and bringing people together to solve complex problems. And although COVID-19 is an unprecedented crisis, I also view it as an opportunity to fix things that have been untouched for too long, whether that's our over-reliance on
20
tourism,
seconds.
whether that's our failure to address food security or climate change. We need to do that now. In terms of my vision, I want to create an Oahu that's where everyone can afford to live, work, play, and raise a family without constantly worrying about making ends meet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Keith Amamiya. So those were all of our mayoral candidates' answers for question number 1. So next question is, if elected, what 3 steps would you take to put the city and county of Honolulu on a firmer financial footing? So first to answer this question will be Chun James. Chun, you have 2 minutes to answer this question. So please unmute yourself. 2 minutes. If elected, what 3 steps would you take to put the city on a firmer financial footing?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I've been involved in city affairs for decades to keep the country save Oahu farmlands, to have a sustainable Oahu, independent ethics. And so the past 12 years, I've been advocating for fiscal accountability. I'm so concerned that so many of our young people are working 2 to 3 jobs just to put food on the table, and that our seniors have to delay their retirement just to survive. So one of the first things I would do is to review all budget items, all major button with a uku comb. And I will cut out the pork, I will cut out the play expenses, and I will stop rail at Middle Street. Rail started in 2006 at 2.7 billion, and now it's up to 9.3 billion. And we still don't know how much the cost and maintenance are going to be. And the route from Middle Street to Ala Moana have portions of it in the Honolulu sea level rise in the nation.
20 seconds.
So we need to do that. And I also want to put a property tax cap on owner-occupant residents who live in their homes for more than 20 years to stabilize the housing situation.
Thank you so much, Chun James. So next to answer this question is Colleen Hanabusa. If elected, what 3 steps would you take to put the city on a firmer financial footing?
Thank you. I'm answering this question from the perspective of the city and county of Honolulu, as opposed to generically how anybody would be able to do this, because this is what we're doing. We're running for mayor. And as you know, the revenue source for the mayor, for the city and county of Honolulu, primarily for operational budget, comes from the real property tax. And there are other sources of income. This is why it's important to have somebody, especially in these very difficult times, who understands how all levels of government works. Let's not forget, a critical part of the financing of the city and county of Honolulu is federal funds. For example, understanding the CARES Act and understanding what types of direct grants come into the city and how that has to be utilized. What we cannot afford to do is have situations like when CDBG funds were lost or transportation funds were lost because of improper and inadequate management on the part of the city. The only way we are going to stabilize is if we understand the sources of income and utilize them so that we can actually create and continue to do the public services that we need to provide. Without that, the city doesn't survive. So let's never lose sight. City funds are one, real property tax, two, they also have different kinds of sources of funds, but a major portion is federal funds. We should also look at agencies within the city, like the building department, which should be like the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs in the state, self-sustained. In other words, the amount of money that they generate in terms of fees should pay for the operations. These are the
20
things
seconds.
that we need to do in order to stabilize the city of Honolulu. Without that stability, we are not going to be able to move forward because people rely on government, especially in these difficult times, to make things work for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colleen Hanabusa. Next, we have John Carroll. Please unmute yourself before you begin.
Yes, this is a marvelous opportunity because I've been fighting for 40 years to get rid of the Jones Act. And this goes all the way back to Dan Inouye and other leaders all the way through to Abercrombie, Lingle, etc. I think during Ariyoshi, we had some stability there, but the Constitution has a commerce clause, and it said that the purpose of that clause is to ensure that every state has equal access to interstate commerce with the states, nations, and Indian tribes. Hawaii, because of the Jones Act, the shipping restrictions that we have are cut off from pipeline, highway, or railroads, and that has given Matson a monopoly here that's legal, but it's the thing that's caused us to lose our agricultural production capabilities because of the cost. All of our piggeries, hatcheries, dairies, all of those are gone now because people cannot afford to farm. I have a small farm, and I know this very carefully from my own involvement. As mayor, the first thing I intend to do is to file a class action on behalf of all of the people in this county to get rid of the Jones Act restrictions on that constitutional basis. I also intend to stop all of the construction and all of the spending on the trail or the rail, and have a forensic audit so we know how much has been spent, who's the money's gone to, what have we gotten for it, and what's going to cost to go from here on. We cannot keep going with this willy-nilly thing where we're up to 9 billion and probably looking at 12. I will take care of those things within the first week that I'm in office, and I'll be watching it.
20 seconds.
Watching it very carefully from then on. I really appreciate this opportunity to bring this before you. I've been bringing it out for the last 40 years. Mahalo.
Thank you, John Carroll. Next, we have Ernest Caravalho.
Mahalo. So moving into the future, what I would like to do to help the people transition, and the 3 steps that I have in mind is, one, I like to build a different tax bracket, a different tier. I like to make 3 different tiers when we're dealing with real property taxes. One for residents, one for those that live outside of Hawaii in the mainland, and one for foreigners. I don't think that residents should be paid as much as those who live outside of our islands and are buying in our islands, but yet the money is going back outside of our islands. So we need to do something about that, and I really would like to look at a 3-tier tax system. Secondly, I do agree we have to do something about the Jones Act. The Jones Act is really destroying us. So two ships live in Los Angeles, going to one going to Taiwan and one going to Honolulu, carrying the same cargo. When one gets to Thailand, they unload for about $875, but the one that comes to Honolulu is unloading for $8,700. It's ridiculous. We are being crushed by the Jones Act, and I agree that we should do something with the Jones Act. Third, and most importantly to the people of Hawaii, we need to look at rail, and we need to put a temporary stop at Middle Street to see what our options is. Rail right now is taking away too much money from us and keeping us off balance. We need to
20
balance.
seconds.
And Middle Street is where we should be ending this and where we should be thinking about moving forward from. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Ernest Carvalho. Next, we have Keith Amamiya.
Thank you. In times of crisis, government needs to step up and lead. We shouldn't be acting from a place of scarcity or fear. Instead, we need to act with a spirit of abundance and hope, and we need a mayor to be bold and innovative. The first step we need to take is to build a diversified economy. As I mentioned before, and as many other people have said, we've over-relied on tourism for too long. And although it has been and will continue to be an important part of our economy, COVID-19 has shown the danger of being over-reliant on tourism. So we therefore must need to develop other industries, including agriculture and renewable energy. The second thing we need to do is continue to build affordable housing along the rail line in particular. Transit-oriented development will be an important component of our economic recovery, especially while we wait for tourism to rebound. Affordable housing will also obviously bring down the cost of housing for our working class families. It'll reduce homelessness, and it'll also provide many opportunities for jobs in the construction industry. The third thing we need to do is build a smarter and more efficient city through technology and innovation. Everyone will tell you, including those within the city, that we can do a much better job of using technology and innovation to make our city services smarter, faster, more efficient, and cheaper for our taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith Amamiya. So finally, we have Kim Pine answering this question. If elected, what 3 steps would you take to put the city on a firmer financial footing?
There are 3 areas that I would focus on to improve the financial viability of our system. 1, people need to be fed. 2, people need to be housed. And 3, people need to be safe. I have said for many years that we have been over-reliant on tourism, and we have the ability to make agriculture a top industry again. I have been working for the last 2 years with innovators in the technology industry, in the agricultural industry, as well as IT in terms of keeping us safe military-wise. We have the ability to create multi-billion-dollar industries here in Hawaii. We just have to have the will to do it. We have the ability to make farming more affordable. We have the ability to make sure that we fund farmers, give them grants, low-cost loans, low-cost land, and affordable water. We have to completely reform the Department of Planning and Permitting that I predict that we have lost about $500 million in income to our economy alone in the last 5 years. So as zoning and housing chair, what I worked on is making sure that we make DPP more efficient. So instead of grandma and grandpa waiting 2 years just for a simple permit to improve their home, it can take 2 to 4 weeks, and we can improve our economy again in the construction industry. We can no longer have tourism the way it was. I would put a cap on tourism right away and make it a number that we know does not damage our land or our resources. To keep us safe, we must demand that all tourists coming into our island be pre-tested and that we have a safe testing, tracking, and tracing program to make sure that they are isolated should they be positive from the local population.
Thank you so much, Kim Pine. So the next question is, what will you accomplish in your first 100 days upon being elected into office as mayor? So first to answer this is Colleen Hanabusa.
Thank you. The mayor of the city and county of Honolulu after this election will take office in January of 2021. We can only hope that by then we've had a better feel on COVID-19, but we are still going to have the after effects of that. The fear that people have had, what we've had to endure, the way we've had to live as a result of this, that is something that we have to get over. As the mayor and as government, we have to restore public confidence at that point. Before COVID, public confidence in the city and county of Honolulu must have been at an all-time low. They thought about public corruption. They thought nobody listened to anyone. You know, we had different types of projects all going down because the community just said enough is enough. So what do you need to do first? First thing you need to do is to restore public confidence, or at least get to the point where people will accept or trust you to move forward. That's the first step. The second step is you're going to have to stabilize this economy. Stabilizing this economy when it's so dependent on tourism may not be as simple as it sounds. But remember, the city has a different role to play. The city as government can contribute in ways that, for example, a business can't, because business is not government, and government should never be business because that is not its intent. Government has to serve the people. And that third thing we have to do during this period of time is to really start getting input from
20 seconds,
such as yourselves, to say, okay, what is the new, better normal that we're going to work towards? Because without your input and without your concurrence, we're not going to be able to be successful in anything. But the city has to start, and that's the third thing we have to do within the first 100 days, is begin to come up with a plan for what Honolulu will look like. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen Hanabusa. Next, we have John Carroll to answer this question on what you will accomplish in your first 100 days in office.
The first thing that I intend to do, as I said it earlier, is to file a class action on behalf of everyone on this island to put aside the restrictions that are imposed by the Jones Act. I've already written to the president 2 or 3 times. He has not responded even to those requests. He's also ignored Puerto Rico when they were in the same problem. The state and the city and county are virtually in a position of bankruptcy. The next thing we need to do is to cut any spending that is not necessary. And the main thing in that vein right now is to get rid of any further construction or expenditure on the rail, the HART. And that HART thing has been a total disaster. They had executive meeting by the HART board. And at that meeting, they wanted to discuss immunity and liability. We've never been able to find out what happened at that executive meeting, but there's a lot of things going on there that have to be addressed, and I will be going after that in federal court. The next thing is that I'm going to be working with Oahu, who has, I think, something like 24,000 people who have rights to land and are not getting it. Many of those people could be farmers. And all of that land is out there to be given out to them. And I'm going to be seeking to have it given in fee simple so that they can set their family there and know they're going to have it as long as the family wants to be there. We'll get rid of those Hawaiian leases. Those are the 3 things that I will do. And another thing that I also intend to do is to go through every single job and position in city government and see
20 seconds.
what is necessary, what is not necessary, and we'll trim it down to where we can afford based on what kind of taxes we're bringing in.
Thank you very much, John Carroll. We have Ernest Caravajo for this question on what you will do in your first 100 days being elected into office.
So the first thing that I will do when elected as mayor, if elected as mayor, will be to reach out to the people of Hawaii. That means within the first 100 days, I will be seen and I will go to every aupuaha and on the island of Oahu. I will sit down with each aupuaha or community and I will listen to the people because each community is different and each community brings different challenges. I'll sit down and we will listen to the people and we'll take the message back. Secondly, the next thing I'll do is I will add a new cabinet to the mayor's office, one that is strictly made out of kanaka maolis. The kanaka maoli has not been listened to. we have been looked back upon. So it's time to bring the Kanaka Maoli back to the forefront, to listen to what they say, because the ways the Kanaka Maolis did things back in the old days worked. From farming, from fish ponds, we need to use them to build new and inventive ways to bring our economies stronger. Thirdly, I would like to do a private-public partnership in rebuilding our infrastructures. Our infrastructure is destroyed. And the only way we're going to be able to build a new infrastructure will be through a public-private partnership. And it's something that we must look at as Hawaii, as Honolulu. We need to gain the trust of all our people. We've lost that trust. We've let them down. As mayor, I will be a servant of the people, because it is for
20 seconds.
to serve the people, not for the people to serve us. And I was sure that all will have a place to live.
Mahalo, Ernest Carvalho. Next, we have Keith Amamiya.
For the past 2 months, my wife and I have participated in numerous food distribution drives, whether it be at Aloha Stadium, Farrington High School, or Iwilei. And we've seen firsthand how many people are struggling and waiting in line for food. It saddens me and even angers me that thousands of people have to wait up to 4 hours or more to get free food distributions. My campaign has also provided over 14,000 meals to various low-income public school students, to senior citizens, to healthcare workers, and even domestic violence survivors and their children. And it's clear that many people are suffering with no apparent end in sight. So what the city needs to do is quickly move to revitalize our economy, yet maintain the healthy and safe environment that we've created by minimizing the spread of COVID-19. In terms of specific actions, we need to, number one, move forward with the construction of 1,000 affordable housing units, including 200 for homeless residents and families. By doing that, we will keep the construction industry going, which needs to be our primary economic driver while we wait for tourism to recover. It'll provide for more affordable housing units for our working class families, and it'll reduce the homelessness population that's affecting our entire island. The second thing I'd like to do is convert an unused city facility to provide mental health treatment for our homeless or houseless community. Mental health treatment services are severely lacking on our island.
20 seconds.
The reason that many of our homeless are being left on the streets and not treated, and we need to fix that immediately. The third thing we need to do is have the city become a more active partner in revitalizing and supporting our agriculture in order to improve our economy and lessen our food security issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith Amamiya. We have Kim Pine next.
What I would do in my first 100 days is the first thing that I would do on day one is declare a state of emergency on homelessness. I would demand that we build 5,000 tiny homes across the island with the agricultural component so that no one is left behind once this crisis ends. What a lot of people aren't telling you is that a lot of jobs are not going to come back. And I need to be honest with you so that you can prepare yourself. But as mayor, I will make sure that you are taken care of and that you are fed until we bring new economies back on board that will keep us resilient here in Hawaii. I will next go ahead and fund co-ops that allow farmers and people to share and cooperate to ensure that we have the right food that we're growing in Hawaii. There is absolutely zero coordination from an island-wide level to ensure that we are making sure that everyone has access to healthy food. As mayor, I would make sure that everyone knows how to grow their own food because we will have supply chain issues. And I want to make sure that you are prepared. If government doesn't come and save you, I want to make sure that you have the supplies and the food and the ability to take care of yourself should a larger disaster come our way. I would make sure that those young innovators and those that have been raising their hands and saying that we can be a sustainable Oahu get funded so that they can keep their technology here. I have been working
20
with
seconds.
many inventors that have said that we can have the best fertilizer in the world, which is one of the highest costs for farmers. We have the ability to be sustainable here. We have the ability to make ourselves resilient and to survive on our own. And as mayor, I will help you to do that.
Mahalo, Kim Pine. So last to answer this question is Chun James. What will you accomplish in your first 100 days upon being elected into office as mayor?
Aloha. I will go back to the basics. We will have a team of wonderful public service servants in finance, in land use, in enterprises, in construction, hotels, farmers, but not corporate cronies. We will put residents first. And again, we will use this uku comb to review all major projects, all major fiscal projects, because it all boils down to money. If the city does not have money, we cannot do a lot of things. And the biggest white elephant in the room, the Honolulu Rail, I will invite FTA to come here to meet with you all, and we can discuss how we can stop at Middle Street and branch off with other modern options. And I will meet with our finance people. I will also set up a hotline for suggestions so that we can save money and so that expensive events like the K Aloha case will not happen again. I will visit with all city departments and hear their suggestions on how to make Honolulu more effective and efficient. I will visit the properties that are owned by the cities to see where we can build and house our homeless to take them off the streets. And I will meet with the howlers themselves and ask them how they can help us clear the street and public places. I will obviously meet with the nonprofit groups and those helpers. I will meet with our maintenance and grounds crew to visit the public restrooms and parks and see how we can
20
improve
seconds.
and keep them clean. So in other words, and I would also want to go to Chinatown and make sure that we jumpstart those empty store places. So in other words, I've been in the trenches with you guys, and I'm not about to change when we occupy the mayor's office. This is our office.
Mahalo, Chun James. We are moving on to the next question. So this question is very relevant today. So given the civil unrest of recent weeks and an outcry for racial and criminal justice, what kind of police reform, funding changes, or other policies would you call for as mayor? So for this one, we will start with John Carroll.
I am so sorry, but I missed that whole question.
No problem. I can repeat that for you. Given the civil unrest of recent weeks and an outcry for racial and criminal justice, what kind of police reform, funding changes, or other policies would you call for as mayor?
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, first of all, we have a very excellent police force here. We've had problems there with some corruption, but we need to look at all of that to see what's being done. One of the main things that I would be doing is looking at, as far as police are concerned, the transparency, so that if we have bad apples in there, that they can find out who they are and have a easy exit for them, which is not the case now. The other thing is that I would be looking at getting the police trained so that they don't use excessive force, but they certainly use reasonable force. I would not tolerate anything such as going on in Seattle right now or what happened in Minneapolis. Those are totally out of the question. And I would use a National Guard if we didn't have enough police to take care of some kind of an uprising or protest. But I believe we have the right to assemble. We have a right to freedom of religion, freedom of speech. And I will also at the same time be ensuring that people will have the right to make those expressions. The last thing is that I think the COVID reaction has been widely overdone. I think the real, if you look at the statistics, that people under about 50 don't have it at all. And the ones that do have it have had some other types of problems at the same time. And those are all up in the age group that I'm in, or from, say, 60 on. And that is something that we can do. Yeah, we need to do testing far more than we have. And again, mahalo.
Mahalo. So next we have Ernest Caravajo with this question.
So I deal with the police a lot living here in Chinatown, and many of the police I deal with are upstanding people. We can't classify all police as bad police. But that being said, we must bring reforms to our police station. We must be able to teach our police to be more compassionate. We must teach them how to sense and how to restrain themselves. Not everyone that they're going to encounter is a threat to them. And I see this in Chinatown all the time because we deal with a lot of mentally ill people. So reform in the police stations is going to mean being able to bring in behavioral health therapists within the police station. Our police officers should be peace officers. People bringing peace to each other. But we need to bring more behavioral health therapists to be able to work with our police officers, because it is a lot of strain being a police officer. My dad was a police officer. My uncle retired as a detective in Honolulu Police Department. They're great people and they had great integrity. But the stress is boundless. And so therefore we need to be able to reform from within. We have a good police department. We really do. But reform has to come from within. Right now we've got police that are outreaching right here in Chinatown to people in the streets. And they're doing an excellent job. And they're our model of what the island-wide police department should be. It should be able to be outreach. Our police need to be able to go back on the beat, walk in the beats to get to know their neighbors.
Mahalo, Ernest Caravajo. Next, we have Keith Amamiya. So what kind of police reform, funding changes, or other policies would you call for as mayor, given the state of the nation in the recent weeks?
Well, I had the previous privilege and opportunity to serve on the police commission, and I was very impressed to find out that many of our officers, the vast majority, in fact, are hardworking, honest police officers who are sincerely interested in ensuring that our communities are safe and free of crime. I know many officers personally, and they are of the same attitude and mentality, and it shows in their actions. I also served on the Domestic Violence Action Center board, and if there's anything that I would look to add to the police force, it would be to provide more domestic violence services from DVAC. With COVID becoming a problem across our communities, domestic violence has been on the rise, and I think that the Domestic Violence Action Center and their people would go a long way in terms of curbing the domestic violence incidents happening across our island. In terms of police funding, I don't know enough of what should be defunded, but I do know that our police force is understaffed and overworked and underpaid. We are losing officers at an alarming rate due to retirements or transfers to other jurisdictions where they're paid more. In terms of the George Floyd incident in Minneapolis, it's an unspeakable tragedy, but it has given rise and opened the forum and dialogue for many issues that have been lingering across Hawaii and across the nation for many years. We need to use this opportunity to create dialogue, and as mayor,
20 seconds.
Stakeholders to the table to discuss these issues that have gone far untouched for far too long. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Keith Amamiya. Next, we have Kim Pine.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what we did at the Honolulu City Council is we went after corruption. We made sure that Chief Kealoha went to jail and that Catherine Kealoha, who also served in the prosecutor's office, went to jail. That was the first thing that we did to reform the police department. And as we looked at how all of that happened at such high levels, we discovered that the police commission was told by Chief Ballard the problems with Chief Kealoha, the problems with the prosecutor's office, and they at the time did nothing. She asked for better reforms to ensure that when police officers see corruption going on, as well as in the prosecutor's office, that the people who are concerned, that want to do good for the people and serve in the right way, that they have a safe avenue to do that. So that's one of the things that I'll be working very hard on as mayor, to ensure that any city employee feels safe. And most importantly, that the police department ends any type of chokeholds or any type of measures that would cause bodily harm the way it happened in George Floyd's death. I'm very proud of the people who protested what had happened to Mr. Floyd in Hawaii. There was no violence. There was pain and sadness, but there is unity in making sure that Honolulu remains a safe place of justice and peace.
20 seconds.
Thank you very much, Kim. Next, we have Tune James. Tune, you're still muted.
We love our HPD, there's no doubt about that. And every time they leave their home, we want them to come back safely each day. And majority of our HPD are wonderful. And like any other organizations, you tend to have a few bad apples. And I just also want to tell you that I just happened to be arrested during the Kahuku turbines demonstration because I was videotaping with an AP photographer friend. And even then, I do not harbor any bad feelings because I know that was part of the system. I did go to the HPD commission and share with them a few ideas on how we can do it. And may I also add in that when there was talk about the Ke Alohas and the other issues, that the police commissioners also chided the city council that they knew what was going on and they did not do anything. So I would definitely place a whistleblower hotline so that any citizen can report in full confidence and that they will not suffer any retaliation or any bad side effects to them whatsoever, that they will have a hotline they can report. And may I also add that what happened to Mr. Floyd was totally wrong, and injustice to one is an injustice to all. So we need to up the training. We need to up the training on constitutional rights, on civic rights, and that we all can live aloha. And I believe that that can be done.
Thank you, Tune James. Lastly, for this question, we have Colleen Hanabusa. So the question again is, given the civil unrest of recent weeks and an outcry for racial and criminal justice, what kind of police reform, funding changes, or other policies would you call for as mayor?
I'm probably the only one on this panel who's actually married to a retired police officer. And he actually also was specially credentialed by the FBI as well as the DEA. And he, those who are in Chinatown probably remember when they forfeited the blocks in Chinatown. That was his initiative. So take that with a grain of salt. I come here having married a police officer. I think that the most important thing that we are all missing is what makes Hawaii unique. Hawaii is very different. The city and county of Honolulu is about 1 million people. That's an advantage to us. Our racial diversity is an advantage to us. What I am concerned about, or what I think that we need to do as a policy within Honolulu, if I'm mayor, is the fact that we have to figure a way how to encourage our people here to decide to be police officers. I do not like hearing that the police chief feels she may have to recruit from the mainland. Not that I don't believe that they could fit in. I just believe that our homegrown people have the best understanding and the best sensitivity to that which is Hawaii. I also think that we need to look at what is it that we have to warn about, and what is it that we have to be doing changes in. I think training, I think the police chief saying no chokeholds and no, or the different kinds of methods, that's fine. But you know, how many incidents do we have? That's what good policy decision is based on. not a knee-jerk reaction, but asking the right questions. And if we need to change, let us change. If there's a problem with the structure of the police commission, let's change that structure. But we have to ask these questions systematically, methodically, and then understand what kind of problem we have here. Thank you.
Mahalo, Colleen Hanabusa. So we are moving on to the next question, and that question is that oftentimes special interest groups working primarily to protect their profits influence policy decisions more than community members and nonprofit organizations. So for you, what is the ideal role of special interest groups and lobbying in county government? And the first to answer this question is John Carroll.
All right. The thing with that is, in my particular campaign, I'm funding it all myself. It's not that people are crowding around me to give me money, but the fact of the matter is, I think money has played much too big of a role. When I was in the state legislature some years ago, I tried to put a cap of $10,000 or $15,000 per House race or Senate race and so forth, and I almost got killed by my compatriots in there because they want to be able to go elsewhere to get the money. So I think that the fact that the people that are taking large amounts of money for their campaigns are immediately suspect, at least in my mind. Now, one of the areas that I'm looking at very, very carefully, and will as mayor, and that is what has happened with the $9 billion that's been spent on HART. And that's number one. Number two is, I think that the people in the private sector, and I really believe in governmental and private partnerships, because we can utilize public funds, private funds to do some very good public work that we might not be able to afford otherwise. So public and private partnerships do work, and they work everywhere. And that's also got to be looked at as far as the rail is concerned, and particularly looking at where it may or may not go. And so as far as maglev and the other possible alternatives that we have with respect to that issue.
20 seconds.
Yeah, I think we need to look to the private sector to get information to be able to do our job properly, and I will do that.
Thank you so much, John Carroll. Next is Ernest Caravajo.
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes, so oftentimes special interest groups working primarily to protect their profits influence policy decisions more than community members and nonprofit organizations. So for you, what is the ideal role of special interest groups and lobbying in county government?
I believe that lobbyists and special interest groups do serve their purpose, but only to a point, because everyone has people lobbying for them, from the teachers union all the way down. But I don't believe that specialists and lobbyists should be throwing money to our candidates or to our elected officials to buy their votes. And that's where the problem comes. So we need to find a way to be able to eliminate or bring down the amount that they're allowed to give to elected officials or to any candidate, because what they're actually doing is buying the vote of the people. So for me, in the long run, I would like to see lobbyists and special interest groups capped all the way around as to what they can contribute to it, because too many votes in that big square building behind me are being brought out by lobbyists, are being brought out by special interest groups. And therefore, the community no longer has a voice. The community can scream all they want to, but nothing's going to happen because they don't have that money or the super PACs money that are coming from special groups, special interest groups, or lobbyists that are not even located here in Honolulu or in Hawaii, but are located somewhere else in the mainland, who come here to do their bidding. So what we have to do is change our policy on how we handle
20 seconds.
Special interest groups and lobbyists in Hawaii.
Mahalo, Ernest. So the next candidate answering is Keith Amamiya. You have to unmute yourself, please.
Okay. As I always have throughout my career, I will always put the community interest over that of special interest. Uh, from whether I was running high school sports or working in the private sector or for the University of Hawaii, I always listen to the community needs over that of anyone else. I'll continue to do that as mayor. I believe in active listening, in collaboration, and listening to all sides and making a decision that's in the best interest of the greater good of the community. And I'll continue to do that as mayor, as I've said. One of the areas that I would like to pursue as mayor is to create an office of community engagement. It's clear that the public thinks that government is not listening to them anymore, as shown by the recent demonstrations and protests, whether it's the Kuku Wind Farms, Sherwood Forest, Ala Moana Park Playground, and many, many other issues of community concern. We need to change that. We need to show that the city is interested in the public interest and what the community wants. And I believe that office will help solve those problems. I will get people in that office to reach out into the community, to listen, to hear what they have to say. I also want to use technology to get the public's input. Too many people have complained to me that it's difficult to testify at a city council hearing. They simply don't have the time to wait in the chambers for their opportunity to speak. They simply
20
don't
seconds.
have the ability to get off of work. So we need to look at technology that's already being used in light of COVID, whether it's Zoom, Skype, or other means. We need to fully engage the community like I know we're capable of doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Next, we have Kim Pine.
Thank you very much. In my career, I've learned there's two types of special interest groups. There's the good special interest groups that cares about the people. Then there's the bad special interest group that cares only about themselves. If you haven't done this job before and you're going to do this for the first time, you are going to be fooled left and right by the bad special interest because they're good at what they do and they get paid a lot of money. There are special interest groups like this organization right now. I've seen you, Dory. I've seen you, Dyson. None of you guys have given me a penny, but I supported the plastic ban, the styrofoam ban, renewable energy, forcing developers to be more resilient and less dependent on fossil fuels. I've passed legislation and wrote legislation that now forces hotels to tell us how much fossil fuels they're using and what kind of waste management programs that they're using to ensure that their visitors are not hurting our lands. I believe in the good special interest groups, and that who rules me. The people rule me, and they tell me what I need to do to ensure that this island is affordable, safe, resilient, and most importantly, will thrive in the future.
Thank you so much, Kim. Next, we have Chun James, and I will repeat the question. Oftentimes, special interest groups working primarily to protect their profits influence policy decisions more than community members and nonprofits. For you, what is the ideal role of special interest groups and lobbying in county government?
Okay, this is one of the reasons why I'm running for mayor today. For decades, we have been fighting a lot of good fight, and the people could testify to the blue in the face. They could do everything a super citizen would do, and yet at the very end, those in the decision making choose the way of the big money and the big corporation. And money has hijacked our elections. We all know that corporate have actually bought those who are in public offices, and so that they could gain power over the decision making. And I'm saying that we cannot have this continue over and over again because it is suffering. It is causing hurt for our people who have to pay for the negative impacts of corporate cronies controlling decision-making at government places. And may I ask you to Google search the candidates and Google search and see how many city council members or whoever it is have taken money from lobbyists or have taken money donation before a vote or after a vote, or who have been given fundraising before a vote or after a vote. Those are important issues that you really need to know before you make the decision. Google search, that's important. And also check their donations. Where are
20
the
seconds.
donations coming from? We need to find out the company they keep. Who are the big donors and why are they doing it? So we need to know the company they keep, and we need to study the donations. As for me, I am not accepting any donations from lobbyists and PACs.
Thank you, Chun. Next, we have Colleen Hanabusa.
Thank you. Issues such as this comes down to one thing, and that is leadership and integrity of the person that you have in office. For example, one of the things that's been bothering me the most about the city administration is this whole issue of building permits. You talk about holding and preserving their profit margin. You know, a lot of that is in construction and building, whether you call it affordable housing, whatever you may call it. The bottom line is the bottom line for them. So let me ask you, why is it that every single mayor has to address building permits, and why an average person like myself, I've waited 5 years for a building permit, 5 years. Why is that? So if anybody thinks I have juice, I don't have any juice. 5 years for a building permit. Of course, you will be told if you go hire an expediter, you might be able to get a building permit sooner. Or if you go hire somebody who may be a plan reviewer, they call it third-party plan review, you might be able to get your permit sooner. Or if you'll be able to just sort of give on certain things like join a structure, you can have a building permit. Those things are not acceptable to me. I believe the law is the law. What we have to do, everyone should be bound by the same laws. So what does it come down to? Everything that we've talked about here, it comes down to the person. It comes down to that person and how that
20
person
seconds.
will lead. And I think you should look at how this building permit thing has been allowed to go on and on and on. And whether the next mayor or people running for mayors can be able to do something about it. And do not accept the same kind of jargon that they've given everybody else throughout the years. Why we still have this problem? Because it goes to leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen Hanabusa. So we are moving on to our final open-ended question, unless we find more time at the end. So this question is near and dear to my heart, given the climate crisis that we face today and Hawaii's vulnerability to the climate crisis. What environmental issues would you prioritize as most pressing for Hawaii, and what initial steps would you take to address them effectively? So first, to start us off on this will be Ernest Caraballo.
All right, thank you. Climate change is something that is really is dear to my heart, because I live in a flood zone, literally from Middle Street in Kalihi all the way down here to Chinatown, and Kaka'ako is a flood zone. We will be underwater, and that's a given. So I would definitely like to, while in office, within my first 100 days, to be able to call a climate symposium of all the leaders of the Pacific, to bring everybody together, to see what ideas we need to work on for climate change, because Honolulu is going to feel a big effect on climate change. Not just losing land, but Honolulu is going to be getting a lot of the people from the Pacific coming to our islands, because their lands will be lost. A lot of atolls and everything will be lost. So we need to change the way we do. We need to bring in more electric cars into our system. We need to build more battery pack stations across the islands. We need to be able to rely on wave energy. We need to be able to rely on solar energy. Each Awapua has a different aspects to the islands that can help in generating clean, efficient energy. So we need to be rid of fossil fuel on our islands. I love COVID for one reason. I hate what it's done, but COVID has shown us that the air can clean up.
20
I
seconds.
see the freeway and it's clear of cars. The emissions are gone. I hear the birds in the morning at 4 o'clock singing. So we need to address this issue wholeheartedly in every single aspect. Yeah. That's it.
Thank you, Ernest. Our next candidate to speak on this issue will be Keith Amamiya.
Thank you, Dore. Like you and Dyson and many other people in your generation, climate change is an important issue for my 20-year-old son who just finished his sophomore year in college. Of the many issues that concern my son and his friends, it's climate change. As I tell people, COVID is the crisis of the moment, but climate change is the crisis of our lifetime. We need to act immediately on climate change or we will cause irreparable damage to our islands and the rest of the world. I'm fully committed to addressing climate change in my administration, and it's certainly going to be one of my top priorities. A lot of work has already been done on climate change by this current administration and previous administrations. One of the documents that has recently come out is the OLA or Oahu Resilience Strategy, and it was compiled by a cross-section of leaders and stakeholders across our city, and it includes a section devoted to climate change. I recommend that we adopt it and we look at it and do what we can to complete the steps that are part of that strategy. I also know that the current administration is working on a climate action plan that should be completed soon. We need to take a look at it and use it as a guide map if appropriate. But the bottom line is people have talked about climate change for years and years and years and hasn't really done anything about it. It will take a mayor with political will to do it, and I will be that mayor. In terms of how I'm going to do that, I will
20
assemble
seconds.
people that are involved in the Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency to assist in that cause, and we need to make it a priority, as I've said over and over again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Keith. Next, we have Kim Pine, and I'll repeat the question. What environmental issues would you prioritize as most pressing in Hawaii today, and what initial steps would you propose to address them effectively?
Well, I think our use of fossil fuels is the most pressing issue. We must push ourselves to be the first carbon neutral city in the nation. And the first thing that I would definitely support is ensuring that we plant 1 million trees. That alone will make us the first carbon neutral city in the nation. I'm very proud of the many things we've done at the City Council to ensure we address climate change and take it very seriously. I'm proud of the funding and the push that we did and the legislation that we passed to push all of our city vehicles to be electric. Allie, mommy's talking, okay? I'm so sorry, my 5-year-old just came home. I'm very proud of the things that we've done to use seawater to cool our buildings in the future. And I'm extremely proud of the things that we've done to push new buildings and demanded that they put electric charging stations everywhere. We have opposed any expanding of seawalls. We have supported pushing back development away from the ocean to ensure that our shoreline does not get destroyed any further. I have introduced legislation to ensure the city doesn't use chemicals anymore in our parks and our beaches, things that go into our ocean and destroy our fish and our wildlife. I have fought for water rights to ensure that we get this to farmers. And most importantly, we have helped to create the Office of Resiliency. It is tough to start a new department, but I am extremely proud of the OLA report that was put out that the council helped put together. I truly believe that we can be a carbon neutral city, and we are on our way there. And I hope to be a mayor so I continue to do the great work that we've done at the City Council for all of you.
you very much, Kim. Next, we have Chun James. Chun, please unmute yourself.
Could
Thank-
I also answer the last question? I was forgotten.
I'm
Is
so
that all right?
sorry. Oh no, the last question was the special interest groups. You did answer that one, didn't you?
No, it's environmental.
Yeah,
the
that's the one we're on
environmental
right now.
That you were talking about carbon print.
Yeah, no,
Well,
we've only had one environmental question. So what environment?
Okay, that's okay. I must have heard wrongly. I am a grandmother of 12, and so I have always considered myself as an environmentalist. I have friends from Tuvalu, from Kiribati, and they are the front line of climate change. So whatever we want to call it, climate change or earth changing or whatever, something is happening and naturally happening. And so we have to address it. So as mayor, I will certainly carry on all the good work that have been done on our behalf. But I will also make sure that in decision making, we need to apply it across the board. So for example, the Honolulu Rail from Middle Street to Ala Moana, part of that portion is going to be in the Honolulu sea level rise inundation zone. And so we must take that into the consideration. And that's why I'm saying stop at Middle Street so that we can provide other modern options and so that we don't keep throwing needed precious funds into something that is going to be problematic. And certainly I will continue to work with the Office of Climate Change. They've done a really good job. They work very hard. And I will also make sure that we do not keep cutting down trees. For the past 3 years, 76,000 trees were cut down in urban Oahu alone. So we need to walk the talk. We are a very small island. We need to make sure that we support our farmers and we have food sustainability so that we can be prepared when.
Thank you, Chun. Next, we have Colleen Hanabusa, and I'll repeat the question. What environmental issues would you prioritize as most pressing in Hawaii today, and what initial steps would you propose to address them effectively?
First of all, when we talk about environmental issues, I think we have to break it down in something that the city has to take action on immediately, as well as the policy considerations of, quote, what is it that we're going to do as a state and as a community to address climate change. You know, when I was in the Senate and I was Senate president, we did the first legislation, sometimes say we're first or we're second, about greenhouse gas emissions, for example, and how to monitor that or how to measure it. When I was in the Congress, we were looking at issues such as carbon sequestration. How do we do all of these different actions for the long-term effect? There's also an interesting concept that's called solar radiation management, which is something that people are promoting for a short-term answer to quote the global warming. So, you know, there's all these different levels. I think for the city and county of Honolulu and the mayor, the first thing we have to address is what are we going to do about the Alawai flood zone? Because as you know, there's issues on that. And I've listened to those who are advocating for and against the Alawai flood zone. But they will tell you, Waikiki will be underwater, probably from the Alawai, more than from sea level rise. Look at Waikiki, the economic engine for the city and county of Honolulu and really for the state. What are we going to do to address what's going on there? Or for those who are on the North Shore, it must be awfully frustrating
20
to
seconds.
watch your road go from under you. That, of course, is a state issue, but notwithstanding, that is something that we as government has got to join hands because the people are being affected. So yes, support the policy statements that we're going to have to go by, but also recognize that a good leader is necessary to address the immediate needs that we as a city are facing with climate change.
Mahalo, Colleen. Our last candidate to answer this question on environmental issues is John Carroll.
This is a marvelous opportunity. I was in the legislature, and I had been a big time diver, and I noticed the diminishment of the green sea turtle. So the very first thing that I did as a freshman legislator was to introduce a resolution to preserve the green sea turtle and the monk seal. And I just have heard recently that now the green sea turtle is occurring up in even in California, and they are making a comeback. So that's one thing that we can all be doing, is looking at that kind of legislation. All of the legislation in the state right now came off of my desk originally, and I worked with Tadao Beppu, Richard Kawakami, Gene King to get them all passed. They didn't pass under my name, but they're in place. Right now, geothermal and solar energy are cheap, and they can be extracted if we would, really pay attention to doing it. There's enough geothermal energy to power the entire state of Hawaii if we were willing to pay for the conduits that take place. It's in the billions of dollars, but it is doable. As far as the climate change is concerned, we have to look at the science to see what's going on. During time I was in the legislature, it came to my attention that the high altitude jet flying, like the Concorde, was actually starting to erode the ozone layer. And if the ozone layer diminishes, it can cause tremendous skin cancer and things like that. And so I made
20
a push
seconds.
to stop that, and they ultimately did. Very great question. Mahalo.
Mahalo, John. So we are moving into the lightning round portion of the candidates forum. So we are all pal with the open-ended questions. Thank you so much to all of our amazing mayoral candidates for your extensive knowledge and information. So these are yes or no questions. So please just answer with a yes or no. And I will repeat the question if needed. So the first question is, are county and state land use regulations and permitting processes doing enough to ensure that communities and their natural resources are protected for current and future generations? Keith.
Sorry, can you repeat the question real quick?
Yes, of course. Are county and state land use regulations and permitting processes doing enough to ensure that communities and their natural resources are protected for current and future generations?
Absolutely no.
Thank you. Kim.
No.
Chun. Chun James, yes or no?
Absolutely not.
Okay, Colleen.
No.
John. John Carroll, yes or no? Oh, you're still muted. There you go.
What?
No.
No.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, the answer is no. I heard the
Okay.
question. Can you hear me?
Yes, got it now. Thank you so much. And lastly, Ernest.
A big aole. No.
Mahalo for the Olelo Hawaii. So thank you for your unanimous answer. How are voters supposed to make their choice if you all think the same thing? So the next question, same format, yes or no. Would you support a visitor tax with the funds going towards combating the climate crisis? Kim.
Yes, but that's illegal, so we have to do a fee.
Okay, Chun. Oh, please unmute yourself.
Yes, in principle.
Okay, Colleen.
Yes.
Tim, oh, not Tim, John.
Yes.
Ernest.
I.
Yes. Okay, Keith.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, yes or no question is, despite the global pandemic, the Rim of the Pacific exercises are scheduled to take place as an at-sea only event in August, yet troops have already been caught breaking quarantine on Oahu. So given the elevated rates of COVID-19 in the Navy and the risk to military personnel and the local community, would you support a call to cancel RIMPAC this year? Chun.
Yes.
Colleen.
Yes.
John.
Yes, absolutely.
Ernest.
Aye. That's yes.
Keith.
Yes.
And Kim.
Yes.
Okay, making it hard for everyone. Okay, so next is Hawaii has the largest unemployment rate in any state, and many people can no longer pay mortgages or rent. Additionally, homelessness is a growing crisis on our island. Does every person in Hawaii deserve housing even if they cannot pay for it? Colleen.
Yes.
John.
No.
Ernest.
Aye.
Yes. Keith.
Yes.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
And Chun. Chun James, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So next lightning round question is, do you support suing coal, oil, and gas corporations for Hawaii's expenses in preparing for and adapting to the climate crisis? So first to answer is John.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure, of course. Do you support suing coal, oil, and gas corporations for Hawaii's expenses in preparing for and adapting to the climate crisis?
I'm totally against going beyond a stop and an injunctive relief and an injunctive, a forensic audit to find out where we are. We cannot make a decision on that one way or the other.
Okay, Ernest?
Aye.
Yes. Keith?
Yes, and I would continue the current litigation.
Yes, there is a current litigation in process. Thank you for mentioning that. Kim?
I'm sorry, my side, I couldn't hear the question.
So the question is, do you support suing coal, oil, and gas corporations for Hawaii's?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Thank you. And Chun? Chun James?
Yes, why not?
And Colleen?
Yes.
Great. Last lightning round question is, employers in Hawaii are not required to provide paid sick days. Would you support or introduce a bill to guarantee all workers in Hawaii have access to paid sick days? First to answer is John.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Do you want me
I
to
didn't
repeat the
get the
question? So the question is, employers currently are not required to provide paid sick days. Would you support or introduce a bill to guarantee all workers in Hawaii get paid sick days?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Ernest?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Keith?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Chun?
Yes, I will work with the state too.
Okay, and Colleen?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. That concludes our lightning round. It looks like we have time for one additional question. So we're gonna pop in one of our extra time questions in here. So same format as the above open-ended questions that we had. So the final question we'll have is, should any part Oh, wait, actually, I'm sorry. I forgot about your closing statement. So we're going to move into the closing statements, actually, instead of the final open-ended question. So for this format, it'll be the same in terms of getting a 20-second warning, but you'll have 1 minute and 30 seconds to share your closing statement. And Dyson, of course, will be your timekeeper in the background. So we're going to start here with Kim Pine.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I want to thank all of you for allowing the candidates to come together to share our ideas with you about how to save our planet and to make our world better. I come to you as a mother of a 5-year-old, and I'm very proud of lots of the work that we have done so far at the City Council to ensure that we feed our people, that we house them, that we keep them safe. And right now we're working on creating a new economy that no longer depends on the outside world to feed us, to pay our bills, and to help us to thrive. I was very proud to have the Reverend Kalani Susan from the Big Island, who came to visit me, where we talked about thermal energy conversion that has no emissions, where we take all of our waste and we turn it into energy, or to the most fertile fertilizer in the world. And he gave this to me from the elder women from the Mauna.
20
They
seconds.
wanted to thank me for being a candidate that protected Mother Earth. I desire to be your mayor so that I can do that, and so that I can continue the good work that we have done to make sure that we have an economy that feeds our people and saves the planet. Thank you for allowing me to share my heart with you tonight. Mahalo.
Thank you so much, Kim, for being here with us tonight. Next for the closing statement will be Chun James.
Aloha. So we have spent your valuable time telling how wonderful and how qualified we are. And I'm running for mayor because we, the people, need to create a sustainable and just future for all. We need to put our residents first, and we cannot have the same old money and power controlling us while our residents are working 2 to 3 jobs to put food on the table, and our seniors have to delay their retirements to survive, and our farmlands are disappearing. 76,000 trees have been cut down the last 3 years, and Oahu is being cemented into a parking lot, and so on and so forth. I'm running for mayor because I want to put residents first. I do not accept donations from lobbies and PAC. I don't owe anybody anything. I can put residents first without any reservations. So let's take the government back. Let's make it work for us, you and I, us. I'm the very clear alternative to the Good Old Boy Network and also the establishment. And I strongly urge you to study the records of these candidates. Check the company they keep. Check the donations. These same people are now telling us that they can fix the problems that they helped create. So insanity is voting for the same old insiders over and over again and expecting a better result. We need.
Thank you so much, Chun James. Next, we have Colleen Hanabusa with closing statements.
Thank you to the Just Transition Hawaii Coalition for hosting this event. But more importantly, thank you for the leaders that comprise you who have come together to basically voice and fight for what you believe to be the just transition to what we call a better normal for all of us. When I agreed to appear on this forum, I think I was one of the first to RSVP. The reason was because I looked at who comprised all of you. And I saw a name that meant a lot to me, and that was Ku. What you may not know is when I was first elected and serving, Ku came to the legislature with her daughter, embarrassed all of us because her daughter spoke fluent Hawaiian, and that was the beginning of the charter school legislation. And as a result of what Ku did, we have charter schools, especially Native Hawaiian charter schools. This is an example when government works. You know, in time of crisis, President Obama said that good government matters, and that is exactly what we have to look for. We have to look for people who understand government at all levels,
20
because
seconds.
that's what we're going to need in order for us to get through this crisis. I'm running for mayor because I have the experience, the relationships, and the knowledge at all levels of government, federal, state, county. And I believe that I can lead us to a better normal with all of your helps. Mahalo for having me.
Mahalo, Colleen Hanabusa. So next with closing statements will be John Carroll for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
First of all, I am clearly the best qualified candidate, having worked in the legislature, having worked in the military, having worked in international business, local business, and law. So I come in without needing any preparation. I know what needs to get done. I know how to do it, and I will do it. And I've been working for 40 years trying to get rid of this Jones Act, but because of people in the Democrat Party have stopped every single time I've tried to do it. I've been asked many times to become a Democrat, and I refuse. I will do the very best that I can. I'm quite capable and knowledgeable and ready to get going and get this, to get our city and county as well as our state sustainable and affordable, and to have total access to worldwide shipping and agricultural exports, and all of that sort of thing needs to get done. It needs to get done fast, and it can be done if I am your mayor. And I'm going to ask you to forget about my looks and my age and vote for my experience. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, John Carroll. Next, we have Ernest Carvalho with his closing statements.
Mahalo to everyone that is here today. We've got a fine bunch of candidates running. We really, truly do. So I would like to say mahalo to the Just Transition Hawaii Coalition for having us and doing this for us. For all the people out there, I would like to say that it's time for change. We can no longer go on the way we have. We continue to go along the way and continue to vote the way we have, then nothing in Hawaii and Honolulu will change. It'll still stay the same. We need new blood, new leadership, bringing us forward and bringing us into the 21st century with new technologies moving us forward. What we need to do is bring and bridge all our people of all races together with the Hawaiian culture as one people, because that's what we are. We are all one people. And we need to do this now, and we need to move forward with it. We need to bring in the Kanaka Maoli into the conversation. They should be in the conversation because this is their homeland. They are the indigenous people of Hawaii. And to all the Kanaka Maoli out there that do not vote,
20 seconds.
once again, I'm going to ask you and remind you that it was Queen Liliuokalani and Crown Princess Kaiulani who fought for you to have the right to vote in the new America, for not only you, but all Hawaiian nationals, so that you would one day use that vote to change the way things are done. So go out and vote, please.
Thank you very much, Ernest Carvalho. Last is Keith Amamiya with his closing statement.
Thank you, Dore. Thank you, Dyson, and the rest of the Just Transition Hawaii team. I think it's exciting, invigorating, and hopeful that millennials like you are getting involved and active in the political process. And if I'm elected mayor, I can't wait to work with you to create a better Oahu for all of us. As I said before, I'm running for mayor because we need change. We need new leadership, we need a fresh perspective, and we need to restore trust in government. COVID-19 is an unprecedented situation. So the same people and the same political experience simply won't work. Instead, we'll need a new style of leadership that brings people together. And that's something that hasn't existed in Hawaii politics for a long, long time. I want a city where you can get from one place to another without fighting traffic. Take your family to a park or beach that's clean and free of homelessness, and where you don't constantly worry about the high cost of living and making ends meet. My entire career has been based upon integrity and trust, selflessness, and bringing people together from all walks of life to
20
find
seconds.
problems. As your mayor, I'll do the same and more and I humbly ask for your support. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Keith, Amamiya. So thank you to all of our candidates. We're actually going to have a hana ho because we do have some extra time. So thank you all for keeping your time with all of our questions, which is uncommon for politicians. So we do appreciate that. And that's a good sign for our democracy. So this is coming from the audience, from Dave and Sherry, who are climate activists here. So the question is that and we're only going to allow 1 minute per response. So Dyson will time keep you for 1 minute. The question is, a lot has been mentioned about agriculture and food resiliency tonight. Oahu had the best ag land in the state, but it's been rezoned for ho'opili with home construction happening on top of it as a result of special interest groups and their influence in government. So given the climate crisis and the food security issues that our island faces, what actions would you propose to protect our prime agricultural land and increase our food security? So for this one, we will start with Ernest Carvalho. 1 minute to answer.
All right. So Honolulu was a big mistake. By putting Ho'opili there and awarding them the contract to build this development on ag land was a big mistake. This was the best prime land we had agriculturally. And the problem here is that we're allowing special interests or pay for play to buy up our agricultural land to turn it into development land. So I would convene and I would find ways to build special laws to undo what was done. Not all of Honolulu has been covered up with cement. So if I get elected mayor, I will find a way to stop the rest of this development to preserve this land.
Thank you, Ernest. Next is Keith Amamiya.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in keeping our open lands open, keeping the country, and the city. Although I'm a big proponent of affordable housing, I want to propose it along the rail line, as I previously mentioned, and in our urban core. Agriculture, as I also mentioned before, is a key component to our economic recovery. We need all open space that's viable to build and create our agricultural economy. And I want to do what I can to continue to support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Next is Kim Pine.
When I first got on the council, I saw great poverty in my district and a lot of homelessness, where we had a third of the whole island. And there was a belief back then that it's too expensive to grow our own food here. Labor's too high. We can't get access to water, and we can't get access to affordable fertilizer. And as I saw homeless in my community, I bought into that. But after my child, I realized that there's gotta be another way, and that we shouldn't be putting multi-developments on ag land anymore. As zoning and housing chair, we found another way. We found a way to go high in dense areas. We found a way to more affordable housing in apartment zones. And we found a way to make fertilizer cheap in the future through the TCOM conversion system and access to water for farmers. That is the future that we need to work on.
Thank you, Kim. And Chun James.
Yes, I was in the trenches with many of you. I testified against Ho'opili, fought against it, fought against COA, Reach, with the Keep the Country, with Save Oahu farmlands, and guess what? We failed. And that is one of the reasons why I'm running for mayor. Too much of our farmlands have disappeared. And Oahu is turning into a huge parking lot, and that is to our detriment. And you know, some city council members who are now born again farming supporters, they were the same one. They were the same one who voted to cement Oahu, to turn Oahu into a parking lot.
Thank you, Chun. And Colleen Hanabusa.
First of all, I think that the the best prime ag lands is actually where Mililani sits, just to see what the consequences is. The developments like Ho'opili, I don't believe we'll ever see them again because of activist groups like this and others who believe that this is not the way for us to go. However, part of that question was also about agriculture and farming. Food security is a different issue again. I believe that a lot of these lands should stay open because they should be open so that future generations can enjoy that. Food security poses a different
20
kind of
seconds.
challenge and a different kind of problem for all of us who want to see agriculture and want to see sustainability. That's why you need a mayor who understands that it's just not a matter of jargon. It's a matter of understanding what is it that's necessary for us to become sustainable.
Mahalo, Colleen. And lastly, John Carroll.
Yes, first of all, apparently the other candidates here have not read the Constitution. It's specifically the 1978 version of the state constitution prohibited any change of agriculture or conservation to any other property designation. And with Ho'opili, that was a very clear-cut case. They had, when it went to court, 4 of the justices all sided with the developers, and only one justice actually wrote his opinion based on that law. As your mayor, I guarantee you there'll be no changes on any ag or conservation lands. I will do everything I can to get agriculture to become our number one component of our economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. That concludes our candidates forum for the City and County of Honolulu mayoral candidates. Thank you all for dedicating much of your year to running for office. We know it's a lot of work and we appreciate you taking time to be here. We want to let you all know that for those watching on Zoom, we're going to be taking a break, and on Facebook, we'll be taking a break until 8 p.m. sharp when we'll start the candidates forum for city council. So various city council candidates running in different districts for those who live on Oahu. So the forum is not over. Please just take a break, get a snack, eat some water, drink some water, and join us after the break. Thank you so much.
Alan, it's Kekoa, yeah? Alan Kekoa Teixeira?
Correct.
Okay. I've got to rename you again. Hold on.
Thank you.
Sure. And what district again? I'm sorry.
District 3.
Thank you. Alan, it's Kekoa, yeah? Alan Kekoa Teixeira?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. I've got to rename you again. Oh, okay, Will, we got you.
Aloha. Can you hear me
Aloha.
okay?
Who's talking?
This is Will Espero.
Oh, yeah. We hear you much better this time. Thank you.
Now, I don't have a visual. Is there a...
Ooh, doesn't sound so good anymore.
Is this better?
Borderline.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Better.
Okay. I'm here.
Very
But
good.
I cannot see anybody.
That's okay. The main thing is your
Can
thoughts.
you see me or
I'm not
am
on that
I
screen.
Well, we can see you, but I can only see the top of your head. So you might have to, to stare at the camera a little bit. There we go. That's better. There we go.
I can't see anybody at the moment.
Well, you should be able to swipe on the screen and it'll give you different viewing options.
Philman Lee, could you unmute yourself so we can just test your audio really quick?
Yes. Okay.
Can you just speak for 3 or 5 seconds?
Yeah. Hi. I'm Philman Lee. I am a candidate for the City Council from District 5, Manoa,
Okay, right on.
Waikiki.
Sounding good, Phil. Thank you for coming tonight.
Okay.
Okay. Hello.
Aloha, Naomi.
Hello.
So we're just asking all of the council candidates to please keep their video on because only the people with video will be on the screen and people whose video is turned off will not be on the screen. So that since you're a candidate, then you need to be on the screen.
Yeah, I turned my video on, but I
No,
don't
it's
know.
fine. It's fine.
Oh.
It's on. Yeah, it's on. I'm just letting you know. Just make
So I
sure
haven't-
you.
Okay. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's good. Thank you.
Is there enough light?
I cannot see you. I just don't even, I'm looking at something. It looks like a bookcase or something.
Oh no. Shoot. Sorry, it flipped around, I guess.
Oh.
Is that better? Are you still looking at my
We're looking at a pile of papers and books.
okay, sorry. Let me flip my camera around. Gosh, this is embarrassing. Oh my gosh. Is it? I'm so sorry.
There you go.
Oh, am I here?
Oh, you were, but you disappeared.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Try that. I can't see my screen, so I don't know when I'm here.
Hi, Grant.
Did I
We
flip
have-
the camera?
We have 4 minutes.
Could you check my sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
Good. Okay, Maikai. You can call me Kalani.
Okay, Kalani.
Malo nui. Ayu ka umaka.
Maikai.
Maikai, let's do this, mabaha.
Grant, try to get some more light on your face if can. Do you have like a desk lamp and just shine it?
Well, we are about to go live in 2 minutes. Naomi.
Yes.
I'm still seeing the papers. Did you figure out the camera?
I'm trying to flip it. No, still?
Still yet.
Okay, let me try again.
Testing, testing. Can you guys hear me?
Very well.
Thank you.
Better. Grant.
I can't tell if it's flipped or not.
We're going on in 1 minute.
Oh, yeah, we can see you, Naomi.
Oh, thank goodness. All right, thank you.
Five, four, three, two, one, go live.
Aloha and welcome to the Just Transition Hawaii Coalition's Candidate Forums. My name is Dyson Chi and my co-moderator is Dre Shin. Dre just moderated the mayoral candidate section and I will now be your moderator for the council candidate section. The Just Transition Hawaii Coalition is a post-partisan organization. We support a livable planet by prioritizing the urgent economic, environmental, and social needs of Hawaii's own local communities over corporate profits. We'd also like to share this announcement from the League of Women Voters Hawaii County, a nonpartisan political organization. Please give vote by mail's first year its maximum chance. Please make sure your voter registration record is up to date. Ballots will be sent out 18 days prior to the election and can be mailed, or voters may visit any voter service center or drop boxes. Locations can be found at elections.hawaii.gov. Voters can check out vote411.org for their one-stop shop for election-related information on candidates. With that, we have incorporated viewer questions into our selection of questions tonight. For those who signed up for this forum and your question was not asked and you would like to ask further questions, we will email you contact information for all the candidates so that you may reach out directly to them. Candidates, thank you so much for providing an opportunity for the public to learn about you. during this difficult period of COVID-19 that has made campaigning almost impossible. All right, for the council candidates, there will be 6 rounds of open-ended questions, the first 2 of which have been sent to you in advance. You will have 2 minutes to respond to your question. When you have 20 seconds left, you will hear a voice, Duray's voice, that says 20 seconds. After time is up, you will be muted. We encourage you to begin closing your thoughts at the 20-second warning. And you do not have to use up the entire 2 minutes. If you have extra time, we will be able to go over additional questions. There will also be a series of 6 yes and no questions, and you will have up to 15 seconds to say either yes or no for these questions. You will also be given time at the end of the forum for a 1 minute, 30 seconds closing statement. Now, we are excited to introduce our candidates for the Honolulu City Council, and we will list this both by the number of district they're running for, and we'll actually be going down by their first names. So Naomi Hanohano is a current member of Honolulu's Neighborhood Commission Office with a total of 21 years experience working for the state. She's lived in Nanakuli since 1978 and is currently in Princess Kanahu Homestead with her daughter and husband. She is running for Council District 1, which encompasses the west side of Oahu. Alan Kekoa Texira comes from a family with more than 3 generations, deeply rooted in Windward Oahu. He is a passionate community leader with more than 12 years of experience serving in public service as the former Chief of Staff to Senate Majority Leader Kalani English, and as the ongoing Deputy Chief of Staff to City Council Chair Ikaika Anderson. He is running for Council District 3, which encompasses the east side. Kalani Kalima is a native son of Waimanalo and lives there with his family. His actions and community service showcases the type of leadership needed in Council District 3, east side. Phil Munley is an experienced attorney who has advocated for humanitarian covenants on the international stage and served as the Deputy Corporation Counsel for former Mayor Frank Fossey. Born and raised in Hawaii, Philmund is a graduate of the University of San Francisco School of Law and has been a public interest advocate since 1994. He is running for Council District 5, which encompasses central Honolulu. Jacob Aki lives in Kapalama, Oahu, and currently serves as the Chief of Staff to Senator J. Kalani English. He attended Kalihikai Elementary before graduating from the Kamehameha Schools in 2013. Jacob received a BA in Hawaiian Studies from the University of Hawaii at Manoa and an MA in Political Management from the George Washington University. He is running for Council District 7, which runs from Makalapa to Iwalei. Radiant Cordero is a candidate for City Council District 7 from Makalapa to Iwalei, a community she has dedicated her career of service to as a nonprofit professional, a journalist in radio and newspaper, and in local government in both the state legislature and city council, and is an avid volunteer and advocate with many groups serving her community. Ryan Mandato is the Chief Academic Officer of Dreamhouse Eva Beach Public Charter School and was the former Special Education Department Head of Hawaii's largest public high school, Campbell High School. He is active in the city's neighborhood board system and was the former chairman of the Kalihi Palama Board. Born and raised in Kalihi, Ryan is a school leader, teacher, and community advocate. He is running for Council District 7, which once again runs from Makalapa to Iwalei. And last but not least, Will Sparrow has a 19-year record as a public servant with 3 years as a state representative and 16 years as a state senator. Born to a military family, Will has resided in Hawaii for nearly 40 years and produces films in his spare time. He is running for Council District 9, which spans from Ewa to Mililani. With that, let's move into our questions. So the first question, which is our one of 2 of advanced open-ended questions, is what is your vision for Oahu, given the converging realities of COVID-19, the abrupt economic downturn, civil unrest, and climate change? And this question will first go to Naomi Hanohano.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to be part of this forum. And for the question, my vision for Oahu is for all of us to get through this pandemic together. All of this, the way everyone is just helping everybody out, in the food distribution in any way they can. It's the Hawaiian style and aloha and sharing. So yeah, going forward, I think we all need to get together, come together, and just have the aloha spirit. And in a few months, or maybe a year or so, we'll all be back to normal. Well, not normal, the new normal. We'll all be back to work and with a healthy kama'aina economy, and a way to welcome tourists just in a little different way. So yes, thank you so much for letting me answer that question. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you so much for your response, Naomi. We'll next move to Alan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. As I'm Alan Kikua Tekshera, City Council candidate for Honolulu District 3. My vision for Oahu would be a more resilient and efficient county. Resilience in that we are prepared for and can effectively respond to any type of future natural disasters, whether it be a health pandemic, climate change. Sorry, something just popped up on my screen. I can't get rid of it. Climate change. Right now, the council committee, the Honolulu City Council created a new council committee for economic assistance and revitalization. We're looking at how to use $387 million in CARES Act money to get out. Part of that money could be used to build testing infrastructure now that we can use not only for COVID, but for future epidemics. There's a household hardship relief fund that was created. We can expand on that. I also feel that we should create some sort of economic assistance fund. We have a hurricane relief fund, a rainy day fund. We need this type of fund where our residents can be able to utilize, that our residents can utilize in times of need. But the biggest thing we need to be resilient for is our economic diversity. As problematic as the epidemic has been, this allows us the opportunity to diversify our economy, whatever it may be. But that is one of the biggest resilience changes we need. And as far as making the government more efficient, by making a more efficient government, we can improve service and response for our residents. There's many ways we can do that, but one way we can look at is workforce development. We have a lot of open positions at the government right now, and we have so many unemployed due to COVID. We should look at some type of workforce development to get them prepared for those positions. But not only that, in times of need, we have an additional manpower resource we can tap into. With a county better prepared, we can provide better service and response time to our residents, as well as additional manpower should we need. Thank you.
Mahalo for your response, Alan. Kalani, you're next.
Hello, Mike Ako. Just wanted to say mahalo nui for allowing me the opportunity to be over here sharing some mana'o. That's it. We're trying to do our best running and trying to help our community. What I see is what's going on inside the communities that we've been servicing is just so many people lining up for food. They need to be fed. We need to work on top of that. We're looking at food sustainability and security. We need to help out our farmers so that they can get their products out at a good rate so that they're not going underneath. And then in turn, help make sure that our local economy within each community is providing those foodstuffs for the community that's involved. We also need to look at, I'm not the only one that was affected by COVID. I got furloughed from Hawaiian Airlines. And, just that alone has been a huge change in how I've been living my life. I've been living my life very meagerly, and I believe I'm not the only one. The people out here are suffering. We got to give them hope, and we got to continue to push living with aloha. That's what's gotten us by all of this time. People volunteering, coming out, sharing their time helping to deliver food. I myself have been doing that for the past several years. And just so happens with COVID, it's actually ramped up all of our efforts. So with Aloha, we can get through this.
20 seconds.
Utilizing all of the resources that we have in our own communities, I believe we can get through this. Mahalo nui.
Thank you for your response, Kalani. Philman, you're next. And just to reiterate the question, what is your vision for Oahu, given the converging realities of COVID-19, the abrupt economic downturn, civil unrest, and climate change?
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to appear on this program. I am Philman Lee. I am the candidate for District Number 5 from Manoa and Palolo. I have been, my vision for Honolulu is that I would like to see the preservation and the protection of the culture, traditions, the lifestyle, and the aloha spirit of the people of Hawaii that is unique only here in Hawaii, where there is a close bond and caring that we have for one another that we don't see in the other states of the United States. As for the climate change, it is a very important issue as the sea rises. In my district, there was a huge controversy regarding the Alawai flood mitigation project, which affected us all the way, that would affect us all the way up in Manoa and Palolo, all the way up the mountains to create catchments for overflow water that would go down to the Waikiki Alawai Canal. So
20 seconds.
Okay. I would like to see a more vibrant and economy with just diversified agriculture and more high-tech industries. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your response, Philman. Next, we have Jacob. So take it away, Jacob.
Thank you for the question. You know, I think what this COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted is that we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to re-envision and an opportunity to reimagine the Hawaii that we want for ourselves, but more importantly for our children. What the pandemic has highlighted is that we have a need to improve government operations. We have a need to improve government and technology infrastructure. We have a stronger need to diversify our economy, and we have a need to better manage how we do tourism. From my perspective, you know, this is an opportunity for us, not just as government, but for us as individuals to really take a step back and to reanalyze ourselves and the way we do things. What this pandemic has highlighted is that tourism, although it's the pillar of our economy, we have to diversify into other fields that are more resilient. I think we have an opportunity to expand on agriculture, an opportunity to lessen our dependency on outside resources for food and other needs. So for me, really, my vision is us making the future that we want for ourselves, because it's very rare that we have an opportunity to pretty much hit the reset button. So for me, moving forward, especially at the city level, how we can better provide for our constituents and how we can set the foundation for the future that we want for
20 seconds.
There's a lot that we can do. And for me, I hope to use this council seat as an opportunity to work not just with those in city, but with those across government and in the private sector to really move ourselves forward. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo, Jacob. Next, Radiant.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Radiant Cordero, and I want to thank everyone at Just Transition Hawaii for this opportunity to speak with you all about our candidacy. So for the question on what our vision is for COVID-19 and response to the COVID-19 recovery is that we need to recognize our goals, that we make sure that they are for and of the people, and we need to build on that. And so the goals that I want to focus on for this response is what many people have been afraid of, and it is keeping a roof above their heads. So, of course, tenants are fearing eviction, landlords are fearing bankruptcy, and when we are responding to COVID-19, the housing issue is even more highlighted as a public health issue. So we have to ensure that we have to have habitable housing to make that possible. And while we had measures to respond to COVID-19 and it was adequate during that time, we have to make sure that we plan for and we build for a safer, healthier, and more equitable future. So I envision a local economy recovery package that will put housing first and for housing for all. So as a council member, I will work together with our state legislature, but also our courts, our housing counselors to establish a comprehensive renter diversion program and to allow for programs to help finance and keep tenants in stable housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Radiant. Next is Ryan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Mandato. I'm a current school leader, teacher, community advocate, and former chairman of the Kali Palama Neighborhood Board. I want to thank those who are on here. I know it's late and we've all been working for a long time, but these are my thoughts about what can we do to build a more equitable Oahu. My vision for Oahu is really focused on how do we get those furthest from opportunity, the opportunities in order to live and thrive in our community. A lot of conversation is focused on how do we get back to normal, but for the people in District 7, normal was not for us. We had people working multiple jobs trying to live and sustain. We have a high houseless community rate. We have COFA migrants who cannot get the specific services they deserve. And so I'm running because I'm running for those who are furthest from opportunity, those who cannot even vote. These are immigrant populations, these are COFA migrants, these are houseless individuals, and most of them operate and use city operations in my community, and they don't have a voice in specific policies that are going to benefit them. With the issues in regards to the George Floyd protest and a lot of the issues that we see in regards to police brutality, Kalihi, where I was born and raised, is not immune to issues related to police violence. 2 years ago, there was a man that was shot in front of Dillingham Foodland 11 times by police officers. And in that exact same year, there was a guy who was shot at my apartment because of illegal gambling rooms. And in these two incidents of violence, we didn't have a leader that stood up and advocated for community. So my vision for the future of Oahu is a future that is safe and a future that is equitable for our people most furthest from opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. And next, Will. Will, there we go.
Yeah, aloha. Yes, this is a very difficult and challenging time for many families, especially when we're looking at unemployment, at one point in the mid-30s. And we need to open tourism in our economy as soon as possible. But the dilemma, of course, is what's happening on the mainland, the potential of a spike, and the need to protect our citizens, our elderly, our youth. It's a very delicate balance that our government leaders are currently working on. And it's going to be controversial, whatever they decide, because you're going to have some people saying, let's open up, and you're going to have many people saying, let's be cautious and wait. But I see a post-COVID era as a time where tourism will still be strong, along with military spending and construction. But as everyone said, we have to begin diversifying our economy. And 3 areas I'm looking at include farming, agriculture, gardening, alternative energy, and culture and the arts. And we need food security. We need food sustainability. I think everyone agrees on that. We need to get our youth interested in farming. We have thousands and thousands of fallow agricultural land that is available. So we need to provide incentives, low-cost loans, many ways to get people interested in farming.
20 seconds.
Oh, wow, that was fast. But there's so many areas, but diversifying our economy is key, getting our people working, and construction, especially affordable housing and housing for ending homelessness. There are many opportunities that we'll have to work on, and I wish I had more time. Thank you.
Mahalo. With that, we're going to move on to the next question, which is, if elected, what 3 steps would you take to put the city and county of Honolulu on a firmer financial footing? And this time we're going to start with Alan.
Mahalo nui for that question. First of all, the city and county of Honolulu actually enjoys very good financial footing. The city and county of Honolulu has a AA+ bond rating, which is something that we need to preserve, as that keeps all of our debt service costs down. That would be our first step. Secondly, we can look at the fundamental way we do government operations. The current pandemic has shown us that telework from a government operations standpoint is possible. It's actually showed that production has gone up and we can still provide the same amount of service in certain cases. So that's another way we can keep our cost savings down by not having to spend money on office facilities, equipment, parking. Lastly, I think we should expand our social safety net by taking care of our residents, by providing these types of service. That's the best approach to remaining fiscally stable, as our main revenue stream is derived from real property taxes, which no matter what isn't going to really fluctuate like the state's economy due to tourism. If we advance the social safety net for our residents, we can do things like advancing a living wage, creation of an economic assistance fund, like I mentioned earlier. We can increase paid family leave and expanded health benefits. Additionally, I think we should expand COVID testing now so that our local families are protected during the reopening process and from future epidemics. So basically, keeping our bond rating, preserving our bond rating, looking at how we fundamentally do business to incorporate telework, as well as expanding our social safety net, will keep our county fiscally stable and increase the livelihood of our residents at the same time. Mahalo nui. Thanks.
Mahalo. And next is Kalani.
Aloha. I think the main thing that we'd have to do is look at what we are spending most of our money on. You know, we're spending so much money on top of the rail. Everybody is going to end up paying for that. We're going to be paying for that for the next 2-3 generations. We got to make sure that we have total transparency and that the money is going to where it's supposed to go to. That's the first thing. Yeah, like any place else, that got to look at doing budgets. You got to make sure that you're living within your means. And the next thing, I believe Alan had talked about that. Looking at property taxes, making sure it's going where it's supposed to be going, making sure that we're getting the services that we're supposed to be getting. When we're looking at those different things, we need to make sure that we can trust that our council people, our councilmen and women, are utilizing those to service us as the best as they can. I believe that we can look at not just that, but agriculture also. So um, just reinstating, looking at rail costs, making sure that we keep those down, and agriculture and everything else. Malo nui. Alo.
Thank you, Kalani. Next, Philman.
Hello, hi. I'm Philman Lee for Council District 5. First of all, the basis of taxes for the funding our city services is really property taxes. And so the Council of Property Tax advises the mayor and the council members recommendations of how to manage the taxes. And so we need to take a look at their recommendations. However, the biggest factors in the property tax is one, the rate that was set by the city council and mayor, but also the evaluation or the valuation of the property. Now, traditionally, the evaluation has been lower, but now it's been going higher and higher, and it's putting a severe burden on many taxpayers, such as senior citizens. So we need to take a very close look at the exemptions and the exceptions to property tax, such as for senior citizens or long-time residents, like 20 years resident, owner occupant. Maybe these people should have a tax, but others may not be justified, such as
20 seconds.
Preservations. So we need to take a good look at the sources as well as the uses of our taxes. We need to develop government efficiency, especially in the rail. The rail is the biggest loss of money due to mismanagement. And I think.
Thank you for your response, Philman. Next, Jacob, and right before I go in, I'll reiterate the question. So, if elected, what 3 steps would you take to put the city and county of Honolulu on a firmer financial footing?
Thank you for the question. I think one of the first things that we would have to do, and it's something that the council has already done, is to really look internally across the various county departments, is to figure out where we can cut some of the extra fat from, is where can we reduce expenditures to help us save. Because what this COVID-19 pandemic has shown is that even though the county is on firm footing, some of the revenue coming from TAT and even property taxes is going to decrease. So there's some monies that we're going to have to make up. So really taking a close look at how we can cut some of our expenditures to make up for those losses. Secondly, the county gets about $102 million every year from the federal government in terms of grants. So really looking at how we can better leverage some of those federal funds coming down to the county levels, to provide for some of our shortfalls. I think, is working closely with the congressional delegation, especially during this time, to see where are pots of monies that we can get from the federal government. And I think the third one, and one that I think is something that the county has been doing for a while, is trying to figure out if there's additional revenue sources. I think this is something that's important, especially now, to figure out how we can get more sources of funding to cover city expenses. So really working closely with the legislature to see if there are revenue sources that we can pull from. Some of the topics that I've been talking to with some of our legislators is, legalizing marijuana. That would provide a large amount of revenue. So there are definitely things that we can explore.
Thank you, Jacob. And next, Radia.
Aloha. So if elected, the three steps that I would take to move forward for the City and County of Honolulu on a firmer financial footing is to first dive deep into our budget and budgeting process, which we just adopted. I've had the opportunity to work on our city budget, and if elected, I will be able to really work with the rest of my colleagues to further analyze where we can be even more efficient with our spending, whether it be through merging related programs or services, or reappropriating positions and prioritizing areas that is needed for our recovery, for our economy to recover. And really taking just a hard look at our current property taxes and seeing what opportunities or current revenues that can either be updated, and also where we can find ways to partner with either the state and federal government, but also our local nonprofits to really help put money back into our hardworking residents and neighbors. And one way to look towards revenue enhancement is the vacant home tax. And these are homes that are not yet on the housing market, and they are often owned by out-of-state investors.
20 seconds.
Thank you. On a vacant home tax. Number two would be to diversify our economy through green energy and green jobs, especially supporting our local agriculture to be more resilient, but also supporting our local companies that rely on outside economies. Also to make.
Thank you for your answer, Radiant. Next, Ryan.
Thank you. When I think about this question, it's really interesting because I'm thinking about who is this question for? Are we talking about the average worker? Are we talking about rich people? Are we talking about houseless people on the street? Or just overall, what is the role that the city and county needs to play in regards to providing money and revenue resources to fund those furthest from opportunity? And so when I think about this question, I'm thinking about how can we develop different revenue sources to ensure that we diversify our economy, just like what everyone says, but in specific industries that are going to benefit the people and the working people in Hawaii. The first thing that I think we need to do is relook property taxes on real investment properties worth over $1 million for those who bought a second home worth over $1 million, and those who are foreign investors who are not paying a certain or a higher rate of property taxes. I think this is untapped money and potential that we can have as a council to look at to increase those property taxes for foreign investors so we can use that money to allocate it and spread it into our communities. We need to invest in agriculture, provide jobs in agriculture. We talked about food security and green projects. These are all different revenue sources that we could incorporate and start with our public school system to build that bridge between the city and public schools to strengthen and create more jobs to benefit the economy. We need to invest in public health. With the COVID-19 crisis, we see the tragic incidents of people dying because of this. Right, we have a great medical school that could invest in public health initiatives. It can really put us on the forefront. And we're already at the forefront because we're in the Pacific. And lastly, we need to invest in our current workforce, get the shovel-ready projects underway, and so we can start getting people working. And as a strong union supporter, this is what I truly believe in. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer, Ryan. Will, you're next.
Thank you. Yes, Alan mentioned about our bond rating, and that's critical for the city and county of Honolulu. And with the COVID-19 now, we need to make certain that our bond rating is not hurt or it's going to need some assistance. But understanding the budget, looking at expenses, looking at projections is key to get a full understanding and being on a sound financial standing as well. Plus, I would like to talk with the government agencies and people within the government to see how we can become more efficient and be a better city and county of Honolulu, and speak with the Chamber of Commerce's and businesses out there on what do you need the city and county to do to get businesses open and get people working. Getting individuals working is going to be key for the first 6 to 12 months of a council. And finally, I want to look at the construction projects currently within the city and county of Honolulu, because those are directly within our control. And if we need to pave roads, fix drains, fix buildings, whatever the case may be, we need to make certain that government is spending dollars that it has in order to put funding and dollars into our economy, paying our workers, our construction workers, and everyone involved in stimulating the economy. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer, Will. And Naomi, you're next.
Yes, thank you so much. I so agree with everything everyone said. You know, we must, in today's economy, work smarter, not harder. You know, we must look at the budget, we must look at spending, we must look for, are we wasting money at any level? You know, how can we, you know, just spend the people's money just wiser. So, you know, when they see a, you know, clean park or, you know, a good paved road, they say, oh, that's my taxes, absolutely. We also should look for unspent funds in a budget. Sometimes there's all these things allocated and it just sits there and it's like, why is it unspent? What can we use that money for better? You know, we got to spend smarter, and we got to look for best value, not just low bidders. You know, I coupon. I don't care. You know what I mean? If there's a coupon to get cheaper toilet paper for the city, I'll do it. You know, and yeah, keeping that bond rating. You know, borrowing as needed to help the people. You know, we fix our infrastructure through construction projects, and then, you know, money for affordable housing, social services. That's what I would do. I'm just a bottom line
20
simple
seconds
person. Oh, thank you so much. But yes, smarter spending and really just wiser with the citizens' money. It's their money, not ours. So thank you. Aloha.
Thank you for your answer, Naomi. And with that, we're done with the advanced open-ended questions. Now we're going to move into the next round of open-ended questions, which were not sent to you. And so the first of these questions, you'll still have 2 minutes to answer these, and Ray will also continue to give you the 20-second warning. The first question of these is, given the civil unrest of recent weeks and an outcry for racial and criminal justice, what kind of police reform, funding changes, or other policies would you call for? And Kalani, this one goes to you first. Oh, Kalani, I believe you're muted.
Okay, I'm a man for one Manala and proud to represent my community. I have to admit, though, my community gets a bad rap for being vocal and difficult, not being violent and filled with drugs. So it goes back to Pilahi, Paki, and going back to having aloha for one another. Now, we got the spirit of aloha law that they utilize only in times like this when they're wanting to discipline police officers. But is it really working? Is it really working? We gotta make sure that they're safe. When I'm talking about, and not just the community and the public, but do the police officers feel that they have enough training so that they can conduct themselves with that same aloha that we're expecting? We're expecting them to come out to be not just professional, but to have a genuine aloha for the community that they serve. But you know, the thing about that is aloha got to be cyclic. It's about going back and forth. You cannot just have it one way. The public got to conduct themselves with aloha. And that's what I'm talking about. When we're looking at public safety, it's going back down to the nitty gritty.
20 seconds.
Going back down to what makes Hawaii unique and special. And it's about having that aloha. It's not just about training and having all of the most updated weaponry and protection, but it's about really getting back to the values that make us Hawaii. Mahalo.
Thank you for your answer, Kalani. Philmond, this question goes to you next.
Hi, I'm Philman Lee, Council District 5 candidate. I have the privilege to work as a deputy corporation counsel for the city, and I was assigned, I was the attorney for the police department, and I was the attorney for the police commission, both. And with my experience, I worked with the chief and the police commission daily on all the issues that they face daily. And I think that there should be a major reform. The major reform I think that should be implemented is that policemen in Hawaii is one of the few in America who are not licensed, like let's say a teacher or other professions. So they can misbehave, there's no standard, and then if they're fired, all they do is go to the like work for the state sheriff's department or works for the state harbors division as a police officer, and there's no accountability. So the first thing we have to do is implement a police licensing mechanism where they have to be tested, and they also have to have a certain level of integrity and free of infractions of the law and ethic violations. So we have to uphold these and keep them accountable by having, and they don't, then they're going to lose their license, but it goes on a record so that they will have, that record will follow them throughout their career. So we don't have policemen on the force that are great misconduct in other jurisdictions and then come to Hawaii and join our force. So that I feel is that licensing is the key to upgrade our police department. Thank you.
Thank you, Philman, for your answer. Jacob, you're next.
Thanks. I think it's very important for us here in Hawaii to recognize what's going on the continent, to really help us put to perspective what's going on. For me, I think here in Hawaii, we're very fortunate that we don't have the widespread police violence as seen in other states, but it doesn't mean that there's things that we can't improve on. I really commend the Honolulu Police Department and Chief Ballard for announcing this week that they're going to take a review of the various submission techniques that their officers are allowed to do. I think that's really good, and I think it's something that should be done. I also think that it's important for us to ensure, though, that our police department has funding. I'm friends with many police officers, and they share that on the, for example, on the west side, there were only 18 police officers on call for a shift, while there were over 150 calls for services. I think that shows that our police department has been severely underfunded, but I'm very glad that in the most recent budget that the city council is working to ensure that our police officers have the resources needed, because they are the ones who are on the front lines protecting our families each and every day. But given the widespread protest that has been going on, I believe that protest sparks legislative action, and I'm very happy to see that the state legislature is considering a House bill that looks to hold police officers accountable. So I think this protest has sparked a lot of good action, and we should keep moving forward. Thank you.
Mahalo for your answer, Jacob. Next is Radiant, and I'll reiterate the question. Given the civil unrest of recent weeks and an outcry for racial and criminal justice, what kind of police reform, funding changes, or other policies would you call for? Go ahead, Radiant.
Thank you, Dyson. So when I think about everything that has happened in the past few weeks and the answers, the answers that we must seek are with our community. So reimagining our public safety, when we talk about starting anew, that we are going to take the time to engage the public to talk about what are the ways that they feel unsafe and what it would take for them to be safe. And also we have to look at the roots of the issues that we are having our police officers respond to, and about whether we should be investing in our officers to be responding to such situations. And I would like to work, my social workers or others, especially trained in crisis intervention, prove a better fit along with our officers to be responding with our officers. But of course, in our budget at the City Council, I would work to increase implicit bias training. They go through a lot of training as it is, and it is training from bias training, but also every aspect that they respond to. So we have to look back at the roots of the issues that they're responding to. And I also want to directly engage the people in our working class neighborhoods who most need the police to work with for them, but not against them. And while we engage our community, we are allowing for these communities which are directly affected by the conduct and credibility of HPD. We have seen partnerships of HPD along with our community flourish through our community policing. And I have also seen that as a Neighborhood Security Watch member.
Mahalo for answer, Radiant. Next is Ryan.
Thank you, Dyson. One, I really, first of all, I support the Black Lives Matter movement and the racial inequity that we see exists due to police brutality. And initially, when I started my call, Kalihi is not immune to police violence. And one of the things, and I strongly support what Radiant said, is we really need to invest in implicit bias training for our cops. A lot of the decisions that we make are from our subconscious mind, and that is a lot of implicit bias training that we need to really mitigate and to understand kind of the biases that represent ourselves when we see violence. As a former special education teacher, I have to be trained in so many things on behavior de-escalation for students with autism and behavior issues. And we have to do it in a way that is tactful, and we can't even touch students, right? And so, we have teachers, we have social service providers that are highly trained in behavior de-escalation and mitigating implicit bias. I think that same professional development needs to happen in a police force so that when they approach specific situations, they know how to de-escalate those behaviors. They know how to talk to people who are having mental health issues. They need to talk to those and not criminalize houseless individuals who are struggling to survive. In regards to funding, I think we need to divert funding to support more of our social service agencies to uplift the community. True public safety is not throwing more cops in a community. True public safety is throwing more resources into social service agencies so that people get on their feet and can get out of poverty. And that is something that I strongly believe in. And I believe that if we continue to elevate our individual people, that we're going to need less cops. And that we're going to
20 seconds.
Really thrive in that environment. And also I want to build partnerships with police officers to ensure that we make their job easier and have them advocate for what they need. Thank you.
Mahalo, Ryan. Next, Will.
Thank you for the question. I was the Senate chairman of the Public Safety Intergovernmental and Military Affairs Committee for about 9 years. And I was intimately involved in criminal justice reform and police reform. I was the first and only lawmaker in the legislature to say that Chief Kealoha had to step down while the investigation was going on, that it was not right and proper for him to be leading the agency. I also spoke out against the $250,000 golden parachute that he received, that the police commission approved. I think that was wrong, and now that he's lost, we probably aren't going to see that $250,000. And while he was a chief, I was able to work with the chief to have him change the policy regarding police officers and drinking alcohol. It used to be a case by case. They decided whether they can carry their gun and drink alcohol at the same time. Now that is not the case. But what we need to do is have statewide standards. And in 2017, we finally, after years and years of trying, passed the statewide police standards board, and many of the police departments were against it. We're going through that process right now. It hasn't been finalized. And as a councilman, I'm going to make certain that that process is finalized, it's done correctly, and we will have statewide standards. We're one of the few states that don't. I also want to give the police commission more teeth. The police commission need more teeth. We could do that through a charter question. And the city council, as a councilman, I will make certain that we are watching the police. I did pass a bill for more transparency and openness regarding police misconduct and bad behavior, but we need to get their names. We don't have the names. We have to work with SHOPO, the unions, to make certain we have changes. If not.
Thank you for your answer, Will. Next, Naomi.
Thank you so much for that question. And, you know, I just thank God every day that I live in a beautiful place, you know, with so much aloha. Like Kalama said, aloha works both ways. And we showed the world that we were able to protest peacefully and lovingly, and, you know, black, white, brown, all of the above, you know, all together. Yeah, Jacob spoke about District 8, which is Council District 1, and the officers are assigned from everything from Makua to Ewa Beach. So it's a tough, tough district. And honestly, I feel like, well, in my case, they might consider a District 9, which would just take care of the leeward coast, but, you know, that's to be seen. But the bottom line is, I feel that, you know, we need to use our resources, again, wisely, but we need to take care of our officers. If we take care of our officers, make sure they're fully staffed, make sure they have everything they need, you know, to do their job, you know. So when they're out in the public and if something happens, they have everything they need, you know. So we need to take care of them so they can take care of us. You know, I know they have, you know, counselors on staff, and, you know, we need to ask them, what can we do for you to help you do your job better? You know, so you're just ready to get out there every day and serve the public. Oh, thank you so much. Sorry about that. So yeah, that's the bottom line, you know, and I totally admire every police officer. I know it's tough to be an officer, because my office is across from HPD recruiting. Of the hundreds of guys that go to take the test, not too many get through. So they are the best of the best.
Thank you for your answer, Naomi. And Alan.
Aloha. First of all, we just have to admit Honolulu Police Department is one of the best trained in the nation. One of the reasons why we cannot fill all the vacancies is a lot of them are poached by other states because our training is so high. The other thing we must remember is we're very fortunate here in Hawaii that we didn't have those types of events on the states, because we're a melting pot with so many diverse cultures and we can all get along, like what Kalani said with Aloha. But I really think we need to look at how HPD interacts with the community or people in general. I think if we were to expand programs like the body cams that we started but never really completed. I think if we had that type of accountability with HPD when they're dealing with the general public, that would provide accountability that they wouldn't be able to do those types of things anymore. We also need to, I agree with Senator Espero, put more teeth in the police commission. We need to give a better route for the public to set grievances against HPD. Right now, it's a very convoluted process where you have to go through the police commission, and the actual action rate is very low on against HPD. I think if we gave them a process where it was it was simple, where they wouldn't have to worry about police reprisal, and they could report what happened and allow through charter commission or amendment or whatnot to give the commission more teeth to pursue these types of events, I think the likelihood of that type of event occurring here would go substantially down. That's all I have to say about that. Thanks.
Mahalo for your concise answer, Alan. So with that, we're going to move on to the second question, which is, oftentimes special interest groups influence policy decisions more than community members and nonprofit organizations. For you, what is the ideal role of special interest groups and lobbying in county government? And Philman, this one goes to you first.
Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, sure. Oftentimes, special interest groups influence policy decisions more than community members and nonprofit organizations. For you, what is the ideal role of special interest groups and lobbying in county government?
Oh, thank you very much, Phil Midley for candidate for District 5. As you know, the saying in Honolulu is, you have to pay to play. And what it means is that there is the undue influence of the mega buck special interest groups that have basically bought our politicians and have basically ignored the pleas of the public. One thing you can see is that the people don't have really much faith in our government and our leaders. One indication of that is the extremely low voter turnout. I think it was like 21% or something. And so you have a very small fraction of the population choosing our leaders. But when you have Supreme Court cases like that allows the megabuck PACs to have unlimited amount of money for a candidate, then the candidates, like most of us here who are not like millionaires, have to struggle to overcome the influence of the megabuck special interest groups that have drowned out the voice of the average voter, that is citizens like you and I. Thank you.
Mahalo, Philman. Jacob, you're next.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Of course. Oftentimes, special interest groups influence policy decisions more than community members and nonprofit organizations. For you, what is the ideal role of special interest groups and lobbying in county government?
Sure. I think for me, if I do have the opportunity to serve on the council, is that everyone's voices is equal. I do understand that there are special interest groups who, may want to use money and influence, to influence me to vote or to advocate for a certain issue. But I think first and foremost, for me, my main priority is to the voters who elected me. But understanding that, especially as candidates, it's very unfortunate that, to have a shot that you have to raise a certain amount of money. And for me as a candidate, I've made sure that whether you gave me $25, whether you gave me $2,000, that as a member of the city council, I'm not a rubber stamp. I won't vote the way you want me to vote just because you gave me money. is that I am an independent thinker, and that I will consult with both sides. And I think that's something that every elected official needs to understand and value, is that we need to make the decisions that are the best for our community, and that we deserve to hear the voices of those who may not have voices. And that's why for me, as a candidate, I announced my race in April 2019, and I walked over 5,000 doors across the district to ensure that I talked to every single resident, every single neighbor, to
20
listen
seconds.
to their issue, to listen to their concerns, and if I get elected to the council, to make sure that their voices are heard. So it's a delicate topic, but I believe that as elected officials, we need to be independent thinkers and do what's best for our district. Thank you.
Mahalo, Jacob, for your answer. Next, Radiant.
Aloha. Thank you. So a huge part of the reason why I am running for office is because I know that I want to work with all of our neighbors to have an effective community engagement with our government services that is inclusive and allows for community voices to be heard, collaborative, and feel like that their voices were a part of our solutions. And that has been recognized by so many of our candidates, not just here, but for all of the other races that are happening this year. So we are going to be doing that through accountability, whether they are from our residents, but also to our for those who are special interest groups. We have to look at who these special interest groups are. But for me, special interest groups, in my opinion, are groups that are serving to support the workers that they are representing. If not workers, then particular just things that they are wanting to see put forth, whether it be at the council or the state legislature. And as a council member, we are a liaison for our community, but not just our actual district, but for the county as a whole. And that is why I am an avid community collaborator, and I am ready to work and bring it to our people. Thank you.
Mahalo, Radiant, for your answer. Ryan, you're next.
Hello, thank you for the question. When I think about special interests, I think about the only special interest that matters. The only special interest that matters are organizations that are operated and funded by people, working people who strongly believe in a specific mission or vision to make change in this political system that we have. Grassroots organizations, people movements, unions, labor unions. I mean, as a strong union member, that's something that I strongly believe in, where people can come together and advocate for the work and talk about systemic change on a policy level when we look at those making decisions for us. Sometimes I think these forums are a little bit interesting because candidates get asked particular questions about, what are you going to do about this? Or what are you going to do about that? But one of the things that's missing is the community voice. And sometimes it's uncomfortable where I'm going to be sharing what I'm going to be doing for the community without bringing everyone to the table at the forefront. And I understand that as a leader's role, your job is to kind of come up with innovative ideas, but I still think that we need people at the table. And so when I look at special interests, I'm also looking at campaign contributions, and I encourage everyone to look critically at the people and organizations that are donating to candidates' campaigns. I'm a product of the teacher movement. A lot of my campaign contributors are working teachers who we know are the bedrock of our communities. And so when we talk about special interests, I really want us to be critical of who are funding our campaigns. And looking at previous campaign donations in the city council, I think it's crazy how people are getting $300,000 to run for a city council race just on Oahu. So let's stay critical of that. Let's question people who take in that amount of money, and let's serve the people.
Mahalo, Ryan, for your answer. Next, Will.
If I'm elected and honored to be a councilman, my top special interest will be the working men and women of our state and county, their families, their children, our retirees, and our elderly. That is the #1 special interest that I will be working for, to make certain that we have affordable housing, safe neighborhoods, jobs, employment opportunities, parks, and transportation solutions for the working men and women who go every day to make certain that our economy is strong and that they're able to take care of their families. Yes, there are other special interests. And as government leaders, we deal with everyone. And it doesn't matter whether they're environmentalists or developers or businessmen or the AARP or people that have disabilities, whatever the case may be. Everyone is important in our society. We don't undervalue anybody here. We respect our diversity. But from my perspective, the #1 special interest are the working men and women of our state. And I will do everything I can to make certain that the quality of life for our families, is comfortable. And, campaign donations have nothing to do with how I will vote.
20 seconds.
I'm at the part of my career now, I'll be 60 years old, that the legacy is a better Oahu for everyone, but most importantly, the working men and women and the retirees of our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Next, Naomi.
Hi, thank you so much for this question. Well, special interest is a fact of life for most politicians, but absolutely not me. I'm just a simple civil servant who just saw some need in the community and just said, hey, I can be part of the solution. I would totally respect the community's input because they have to live with it. I have to live with it. It's that Hawaiian of that kako. It's all of us together have to live in this community, have to live in this, not have to, but who lives in this community, who has the honor of living, in Hawaii on Oahu. And, if the community decides they want something, I have to, be part of the unity of our community. I have to live with my decision, and I have to look everyone in the eye, after the decision is made. So it's a kako thing. I'm not only making a decision for myself, my family, my grandchildren. I'm making a decision for all of us based on what is the best. And if the community feels very strongly about it, then I will just be the best council member I can be. So thank you.
Mahalo for your answer, Naomi. Next, Alan.
Aloha, thank you for the question. As far as the role of special interest groups in my office, they're one side of the issue. As a council member looking at policy, we're going to have to weigh every decision and look at it from both sides. Our main priority, of course, is always going to be our constituency, but special interest groups, they just provide you that alternate side. At the legislature, we cannot operate in a vacuum. We have to understand all sides to be able to make efficient policy. So a special interest groups is one side of that policy. That's not our priority. That's not what we look at. That's one voice contributing to the issue at hand. At our office, we have an open door policy. We are available to anyone for comment or questions. And that's basically what you need to do as a council member. Special interest groups play, but we need to hear what they say, but we don't have to listen to what they want. That's why we're elected. We represent our constituency, and first and foremost, that's what we need to take into account to benefit our community and our island first. Special interest groups are just one side of the coin. Thank you.
Mahalo, Alan, for your answer. And Kalani.
Well, that's funny you should ask that. I started to run for city council because I had wanted to make sure that the voice of the people was being heard at the other level, at the city level. Um, you know, what I saw as a community advocate and leader was that the people, when they voice their concerns at the neighborhood boards, in their conversations, sitting at McDonald's, talking about what's going on in the community, and that they didn't have a say, that concerned me. When they had these concerns, we brought it up and made sure that we had a venue. So the community meetings was very important. Getting people together so that they can at least understand what was the mana'o behind why the councilman or a legislator had done or had made whatever decisions that they made. We gotta bring that back. We gotta bring back accountability to our legislators and our council people, because special interest has always been a part of politics. That's just it. But if you can prove that you have the record, or you can prove that you're willing to work with the people and put their needs first, that is paramount. That is what matters. And I've always believed that nothing should happen in your community unless it is agreeable. Unless it is agreeable and beneficial to the people that the project is proposed for. So it doesn't matter about special interests. The only interest is about the people. That's all that matters. Malo nui. Aloha.
Mahalo for your answer, Kalani. And my apologies, but for the sake of maintaining our time frame, we're going to skip the next open-ended question. And if we do have enough time at the end, we can go back to this open-ended question. But otherwise, we're going to go straight into our lightning round. These are just yes and no questions. Please give your answers in just yes and no's, so that way we can stay on time. And so the first yes and no question is, are county and state land use regulations and permitting processes doing enough to ensure that communities and their natural resources are protected for current and future generations? Radiant, this one goes to you first.
Oh, I apologize. What was the question?
Oh, sure. Are county and state land use regulations and permitting processes doing enough to ensure that communities and their natural resources are protected for current and future generations? Just yes or no answers.
I'm so sorry. You sound really garbled. What? I'm sorry. Can you say that again, please?
Oh, my apologies. Are county and state land use regulations and permitting processes doing enough to ensure that communities and their natural resources are protected for current and future generations? Just yes or no answers.
Yes or no answers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no.
Okay. Ryan?
No.
Will?
No.
Okay. Naomi?
No.
Alan?
No.
Kalani?
Not natural, not even cultural resources. Aole, no.
Philmont?
No.
And Jacob?
No.
Wow, united on that answer. Thank you for your unanimous answer. The next question is, would you support a visitor tax with the funds going towards combating the climate crisis? And Ryan, this one goes to you first.
Yes.
Will? Will?
Yes.
Okay. Naomi?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Kalani?
Yes.
Philmond?
Yes.
Jacob,
Yes, but I think a visitor tax.
and Radiant.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Unanimous answers back to back. Okay. Wow, voters are gonna have a hard time choosing between all of you. Okay, so the third question is, despite the global pandemic, the Rim of the Pacific exercises are scheduled to take place as an at-sea only event in August, yet troops have already been caught breaking quarantine on Oahu. Given the elevated rates of COVID-19 in the Navy and the risk to military personnel and the local community, would you support a call to cancel RIMPAC this year? Will, this goes to you first.
Yes.
Naomi, Naomi,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
Kalani,
Yes.
Philmond,
No.
Jacob,
Yes.
Radiant,
Yes.
and Ryan.
Yes.
Okay. And then the fourth one is Hawaii has the largest unemployment rate in any state, and people can no longer pay mortgages or rent. Additionally, homelessness is a growing crisis on our island. Does every person in Hawaii deserve housing, even if they cannot pay for it? And this goes to you first, Naomi.
Oh goodness. Housing. That's a tough one. Yes.
Okay. Alan,
Yes.
Kalani,
Yes.
Philmond,
Yes.
Jacob,
Yes.
Radiant,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
and Will.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And question 5, this is the second to last question. Do you support suing coal, oil, and gas corporations for Hawaii's expenses in preparing for and adapting to the climate crisis? And Alan, this one goes to you first.
Yes.
Kalani,
Yes.
Philmond, sorry, Philmond, I think you're muted.
Yes.
Jacob,
Yes.
Radiant,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
and Naomi.
Yes.
Okay, and this is the last of the lightning round questions. Employers in Hawaii are not required to provide paid sick days. Would you support or introduce a bill to guarantee all workers in Hawaii have access to paid sick days? And Kalani, this one goes to you first.
Yes.
Philmond,
Yes.
Jacob,
Yes.
Radiant,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Naomi,
Yes.
and Alan.
Yes.
Wow, you're all making it hard for voters to choose which one of you they want to vote for. Okay, so with this, we're going to move into your closing statements. And as I said earlier, if there is extra time after you're all done with your closing statements, then we may go into our open-ended question, which we had to skip earlier. So for the closing statements, you will have 1 minute, 30 seconds. We do ask that you, when DeRay gives a 20-second warning, that you wrap up your thoughts. And with that, Philman, this goes to you first.
Hi, well, I'm Phil Lee. I have done humanitarian law and human rights. I was a graduate of the University of San Francisco Juris Doctor and MBA degrees. I have served as the Deputy Corporation Counsel for the City Council, the city under Mayor Fossey, and I was also a Chief of Staff for a City Council member, and so I have a tremendous amount of experience, as well as doing 25 years of a veteran legislative staffer and also a public interest advocate. And so I've done humanitarian relief work for refugees and victims displaced by the anarchy and chaos in the war in Lebanon and Syria. I have traveled throughout 100 countries on all 6 continents to do extensive research on international and comparative
20
law.
seconds.
I worked at the United Nations in Geneva, working Covenants Against Disappearances, Torture, and Genocide at the UN Center of Human Rights, and I attended the International Human Rights of Council of Europe in Strasbourg, France. And so I also passed 4 bar exams and got an MBA in 1 year. So
All for closing thoughts, Philman. Next, Jacob.
Thank you guys for this opportunity. For me, as someone who was born and raised in public housing, my family has lived in our district for over 100 years. You know, as someone who comes from a humble background, I truly understand the issues that many of our residents are going through, especially during this time. But being able to work at all levels of government, at the county level as a neighborhood board member, at the state senate as a chief of staff to Senator English, as a federal advocate for Native Hawaiians in Washington, D.C., and as an indigenous rights activist at the United Nations, you know, I have the experience and the ability, you know, to really cross sector, to work with a bunch of different agencies to really find the issues to a lot of the problems that we have. I believe that the next 4 to 8 years is going to be the most crucial, and the decisions we make today is going to have an impact not just on us, but for our future generations. So for me, really running for this seat is an opportunity to continue my service, but I feel that it's a responsibility.
20
Given
seconds.
everything that's going on, I think we have an opportunity to elect leaders who will be moving our county forward. And I look forward to just the chance to continue my service to this community as well as to our state. Mahalo nui loa.
Mahalo, Jacob. Radiant.
Aloha, I want to thank Dyson and DeRay for this and the rest of the Just Transition Hawaii Coalition for this opportunity. Everyone, once again, my name is Radiant Cordero, candidate for Council District 7, serving the communities of Makalapa to Iwalei. I am the daughter of immigrants. My dad grew up in Kahului, Maui, while my mom in Kalihi. And while growing up, although our family was small, this allowed a great opportunity to build community. And that is why I'm running. And that is why I have served my community, not just in local government at the state legislature and at the city council, but also in nonprofits, in Keiki leadership development, and representing persons with disabilities and their job employments, as well as e-journalists in local newspaper and its radio and multimedia programs. I am running because I want to hui all of us together to create and support and build communities, just as those values were in
20 seconds.
In me. And for residents of all incomes, ages, and races and ethnicities to participate and benefit from living in a connected, healthy, and vibrant places. Mahalo for your time.
Mahalo for that closing statement, Radiant. Ryan.
Thank you to all the listeners for viewing today. Once again, my name is Ryan Mandato. I'm a school leader, a teacher, community advocate, and former chairman of the Kalihi Palama Neighborhood Board. I'm running because The issues that affect the Kalihi community have existed for years, and we need a leader to stand up and to do something about it. At 15, my house was raided for drugs. It was the largest drug bust in the state of Hawaii at that time. And at 25, a guy was shot at the bottom of my apartment. And you would think after a span of 10 years that things would change, but things have not changed. And so we need leaders in political office that are going to address the trauma that exists in the Kalihi community for so long. I want to advocate for safe communities and safe livelihoods. We need all communities to ensure that our children are not afraid of being shot at night. We need communities where our children are not afraid of being evicted from their homes and have a roof over their head. And we need to advocate for those furthest from opportunity. We also need to advocate for our planet, for our environment. We know that low-income communities are drastically impacted by climate change. So once again, my name is Ryan Mandado, and we need to advocate for those furthest from opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your closing statements, Ryan. Will, closing statement is yours.
Thank you, Just Transition Hawaii, for this forum. I'm Will Sparrow, running for City Council District 9. I've been fortunate to work under Mayor Frank Fosse in charge of Oahu's neighborhood boards for 8 years. He hired me when I was 26 years old. I also served as an general manager of the Ewa Bai Gentry Community Association and 19 years in the legislature, where I had a very successful career. Public service is in my heart and soul. And now I want to give back, because the city and county has many complex and challenging issues, and experience is going to be very important in dealing with these problems. Having someone with experience, knowledge, know-how, history will help in solving our problems. And I ask you, anyone watching, to please visit willasparrow.com to learn more about my candidacy. But we can change the world together for the better. And we can make a sustainable Hawaii for ourselves, for our future generations. So get out to vote. It's a mail election. And tell all your friends and relatives that they need to be active, engaged, and involved, because it's all about your future, our future together. Thank you.
Mahalo, Will, and for the closing statement. And it just as a reminder to everyone, it is a mail-in election. Next, Naomi.
Yes, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to participate in this forum. I'm just a simple civil servant. I've been a neighborhood assistant covering the Ewa and Waianae boards for the last year and a half. I know the issues, you know, this is a very challenging district, absolutely. I'm part of the city. Right now, I feel I'm part of the solution. I know the city well, how it works, and I just never thought I would run for office, but I said, hey, why not? You know, let's just give it a shot, see what happens. I'm solution oriented. I'm very fiscally responsible. And I really do care about the community. You know, it's not about me, it's about us. It's that kako thing. And I just want to bring what I can to the table to help the entire island get together. I do other boards, and homelessness is not an exclusive D1 problem. It's all over the island. So what can
20
we
seconds.
do together to solve the island's problem? So thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Mahalo, Naomi. Alan.
Once again, I'd like to thank everyone for this opportunity. Thank you very much. I'm running for office basically to help my community. As a lifelong resident of Windward, Oahu, and dedicated public servant, my work experience provides me a unique perspective and understanding of the people, the problems, and the processes to fix them, to fix the issues that our residents face every day. Throughout the last 12 years, I've lived and breathed my role as a public servant, dedicated to Windward Oahu. I've built strong relationships within our community to enact policy that benefits our residents first. Over the years, being able to work with the community as in my capacity as the Deputy Chief of Staff for the incumbent District Council member, it enables me to bring a tremendous amount of departmental and charitable services to our district, as well as prioritize CIP funding. This unique synergy that I have with the community, the government, and the private sector allows me to accomplish many of these collaborative projects. This election is extremely important in 2020, with 5 new council members coming in. Together, we can shape the future of Honolulu for years to come, and I hope you can support me in this endeavor. Mahalo nui once again. Aloha.
Thank you, Alan, for those closing remarks. And last but not least, Kalani.
Aloha Ikako. I'm Kalani Kalima, native son of Waimanalo. I gotten involved because I believe I could make a difference. You see, as a certified teacher, that is the reason why we get into teaching. We try to role model for our students our expectations, and we love it when they end up getting that light bulb moment. And that's exactly what happened when we ended up having to deal with the destruction and desecration that happened at Hunananiho, Sherwood Forest. You guys may have known about that. You guys may have heard about that. And so my type of community service and advocacy and leadership comes from direct action. I find out what is the issue and I take it to those that have the authority to make a difference. And we hold them accountable. That's how we do it. Yeah, Lau Lima, all of us getting together and holding them accountable. I am one of the founders of Nakuaina Waimanalo, who ended up saving 81 acres above Kaiwi Mauka from becoming 80 luxury cabins. When we heard that, we knew that that wasn't for us. Yeah, we also helped to save the Loli and worked with NOAA, DLNR, and DoCare and HPD to make sure that there was a moratorium for that natural resource. I'm Kalani Kalima, running for District 3 City Council. Malo nui. Aloha.
Thank you all so much for your closing statements. They're really wonderful. And you all are such impressive candidates that we have a hana ho from the audience. So let's dive into one more open-ended question, which I will state, and then we can wrap this up. So the last open-ended question, and this will be a 2-minute speaking time. Dure, once again, will give you the 20-minute warning, is what will you do to meet Hawaii's goal of 100% emission-free energy before 2040? And this will go first to Jacob.
You know, I think the city council has taken the right steps forward of mandating, a number of different methods of ensuring clean energy, charging stations for new and redevelopment projects. But I really think that we have to change our habits. Here in Hawaii, we depend largely on outside resources for our sustenance. And I believe moving forward, and especially with this COVID-19 pandemic, we really have to analyze our habits. And I think that we have an opportunity now to do so. But I think it's going to take everybody. Government can input various different policies, but if people aren't going to change their habits, we're not going to see the energy goals that we want. So I think together as a community, we all can play a role in analyzing our usage. And hopefully, we do it not for us, but for our keiki and for the future generations to come, to ensure that they too have the opportunity to grow up in the Hawaii that we call home. So thank you guys again for this opportunity, and thank you again for this forum.
Mahalo, Jacob. Radiant goes to you next.
Thank you, Dyson. The reality is there isn't a single city department or a single Oahu resident that climate change doesn't impact. And a lot of us have mentioned how climate change has impacted our own neighborhoods. And relating to transportation and reaching those goals, I have dedicated a lot of my time on the working at the city council and on the city budgets to advocate for and work on and help defend, expanding the Office of Climate Change, Sustainability and Resiliency, and also just about 3 or 4 years ago, really working on providing tens of millions of dollars to really start the electrification of transportation, not just for our city buses and handy vans, but especially for our motor pool, and increasing the infrastructure that is needed to support that, not just for our city or state, but for all of our residents to utilize. And as we move towards electric, as well as I also want to work towards business education for more initiatives like Bill 40, which I want to thank you, Dyson, as well as Jure, for your amazing advocacy, working on it with the rest of my, starting from a draft. I didn't think that this one draft would move forward as much as it did. And, it's an important element for our climate and environment to preserve and protect what, not just for ours, but for our future. So I look forward to more historic wins, not just on this council, but for future legislators and legislative branches towards our sustainability goals. Thank you for your time.
Mahalo, Radiant. Ryan, I pass the question to you.
Thank you, Dyson. I think we need radical shifts in terms of our behavior in regards to how we approach the climate and also the planet. And it starts with investing in public education. When we invest in public education and start teaching our children at the young age that we need to take care of our planet, especially our environments here in Hawaii, we can make large strides in regards to really changing habits and mindsets on how we're going to approach those practices. I started a charter school focused on leadership and identity development, and I see the amazing and unique work that our 6th graders are doing in terms of coming up with sustainable solutions for our future. So if we can start at such a young age, like at 6th grade, where students are trying to solve community issues, we can start them young. And so when they grow up to be leaders, we can definitely think about how to create more sustainable futures. Second, we need to look at holding businesses and other agencies accountable for their output of specific fossil fuels. If we get an inventory of things and output of things that they emit into the climate, this is going to be a greater initiative for us to identify whether or not they're doing great practices for our environment. I am doing my best to ensure that I practice sustainable practices. I actually gave up my car in terms of going to work. I take the bus from Kalihi to Ewa Beach, only because this is what this is my personal commitment on how we can change the future of our planet. And going back to environmental justice, we really need to look at sustainable development for low-income communities. I lived in a street where there wasn't any recycling opportunities. And so we still have communities who don't have access to these opportunities. And this needs to change because climate change greatly impacts low-income communities.
Thank you so much for your answer, Ryan. Will, I give the ball to you.
I'll continue to support alternative energy policies, job opportunities, and have discussions with the business community, with our youth in particular. Everyone talks about education. That's key. We need to get ourselves off fossil fuels. We need to do simple things like walk or bike or carpool. We need to encourage people to think green, knowing that in the short term and or long term, it's going to save our environment, keep our planet livable, and make certain that Hawaii continues to be the beautiful place that it is. And if there are laws or rules that we can pass in the council in order to have a green economy and provide alternative energy jobs, I will certainly be doing that, as well as having discussions with HECO. HECO is obviously a key player when it comes to our electrical needs and their use of fossil fuels, and we need to do more to improve the grid and make certain that we are going to a green economy. And it takes leadership, and it takes the political will, and I am your political will. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Will. And Naomi.
Well, this question is right up my alley, actually. I'm a big believer in green energy. My home, I have PV panels. I drive an electric car. I have a tankless water heater. I totally believe in planting more trees. It seems like the earth knows how to take care of herself. So we just help her out with some trees. I believe that's a good thing. I absolutely am concerned with climate change. Of course, I live in Nanakuli, so Farrington Highway is adversely affected. If the sea level rise, we'll have more flooding, we'll have more debris and problems on the roads. So yes, I am absolutely pro green energy. My grandchildren know that grandma don't do paper plates and things like that. So sustainability, resiliency, and green energy is absolutely important for me. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your answer, Naomi. Alan, it's yours next, and I'll just reiterate the question one more time. So what will you do to meet Hawaii's goal of 100% emission-free energy before 2045? Take it away, Alan.
So basically, Bill 25, 2019 was enacted this year. That was in conjunction with the Honolulu City Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency. What that bill does is it adopts the state energy conservation code. So it's changing the code on how to conserve energy for the government and new projects. It was a good start, but I think we can do more. We would also need to transition our buses and our handy vans into an electric fleet. Some steps have been made in the 2019 budget to buy some fleet of electric vehicles, but we can do more. We also would have to expand our rooftop solar availability for our residents. If we could simplify the DPP process for that and improve our electrical grid to handle renewable energy, that's what we would need to do to become emission-free. The big problem that we don't like to discuss is anytime you're generating electricity on Oahu, you're burning fossil fuels. So that's something we have to consider when you say zero emission. I mean, that's something we're really going to have to take into account, change the entire infrastructure of our electrical grids to handle these types of renewable energies. We can also consider alternative energy sources like H-Power. We're contractually obligated to burn a certain amount of trash that we don't even use, that we don't even meet. We can look at creative ways to increase these types of materials that we can burn to eliminate landfill use, burn more, and create more energy. But like I said, the total 100 emission is difficult to accomplish, but can be done with creative thinking. Thanks.
Mahalo for your answer, Alan. And we'll move to the second to last person, Kalani.
Aloha, everybody. So tonight we got to share a little bit of our own mana'o, and I have one, he moku he wa'a, he wa'a he moku. Yeah, what it talks about is the canoe being an island, the island being a canoe. And if you understand that concept, you'll understand that all of our resources, our natural resources, is finite. We know we got to live with the Jones Act and everything else coming inside, whether that's goods, resources, anything that needs to be utilized in order to create the electricity that we use. But we got to look at ourselves. We got to be able to role model our own expectations out there. Yeah, I'm a son of a father that made us recycle, reuse, reduce. That is where it has to come into yourself, and you got to be able to exude that. So recycle, reuse, reduce. I was lucky to have taken my students over to the Tour de Trash a while ago, and we got to visit all of the different places. One was in Kapaa Quarry, where they was utilizing green mulch in order to make fertilizers, how they was utilizing all of the sludge from Oahu's biggest or largest sewage plant, and what they was using that for, and H power and everything else. Yeah, so if we utilize more Kanaka Maoli concept of taking care of the Ahupua will in turn take care of us. Yeah, we got to work in conjunction with the Aina. That's the bottom line. This is all we got. We're islanders. If we don't look at that, we can have the best policies and the best ideas in the books. But if we have no means of enacting that, then it is all for naught. Yeah, so let's look at how our kupuna had survived all of these millennia by utilizing the Ahupua concept and Kipuka concept. Mahalo.
Mahalo for your answer, Kalani. And last but not least, Philman, the question is yours.
Aloha Kako, Philman Lee for District 5. I think it's laudable that the state does have the goal of 100% energy efficiency in the year 2045. And I think we have to maximize various methods of renewable energy. 1, wind. 2, solar from the sun. 3, ocean, waves, tides, currents, and temperature differences of the ocean surface need to be converted into energy. Hydroelectric, flowing from streams or waterfalls or dams, can also be harnessed. And on the Big Island, you also have geothermal, heat from the earth that can be converted to energy, renewable energy. And of course, here in Oahu, you have bioenergy, where you can convert organic or animal materials and such municipal waste products into energy, like we're doing in H power, and reduce the amount of landfills. I think in the bio energy, we need to also, like, we could use sugar cane or leaves, branches, wood chips, paper, or even manure to be processed into electricity. Out there in the Eva, they have a wastewater. The city has a wastewater plant there, and there they are converting sewage into gas, like natural usable gas for energy. So these are kinds of projects I feel that we need to promote and expand on to reach our goal of becoming 100%.
Mahalo for your answer, Philman. And with that, candidates, thank you all so much for spending your night here. As a reminder to everyone, Naomi Hanohano is running for Council District 1, which encompasses the west side. Alan Kakoa Teixeira is running for Council District 3, which encompasses the east side. Kalani Kalima is also running for Council District 3, east side. Philman Lee is running for Council District 5, which encompasses central Honolulu. Jacob Aki is running for Council District 7, which runs from Makalapa to Iwalei. Radiant Cordero is also running for Council District 7 from Makalapa to Ivali. And then Ryan Mandado is also running for District 7 from Makalapa to Ivale. And last but not least, Will Sparrow is running for Council District 9, which runs from Eba to Mililani. So with that, thank you, candidates, for sharing with viewers your positions on a variety of issues and topics tonight. Viewers, we hope that this forum gave you a better understanding of each candidate's stances and views on a variety of local issues, many of which afflict us. Of course, this forum was not intended to answer every single question that you have on each of these candidates, or to tell you who to vote for in just a span of one night. But it is intended to excite you further for the primary elections. And as a first-time voter myself, I can certainly say that I am very excited for the upcoming elections. So with that, a huge thank you to the candidates who participated, our viewers who participated, the media, and of course, we can't forget them, the volunteers for this event. We couldn't have done this without you. So with that, thank you all so much for attending the Just Transition Hawaii Coalition, City and County of Honolulu Candidate Forum. Mahalo and good night.